Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terror Podcast, Season 10, Episode 38. He's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. And Dave, do you hear that by any chance? Do you hear that?
Hear what? Look at us.
It's by God, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers music. Hey, they are back 4-4 at the turn, which is what Mike Tomlin preached this entire time. Steelers get a 26-24 big victory over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. This was massive. I'm not going to pretend this was a must-win, but this finally puts you really right back in the conversation. It was a big litmus test for the state of this team that says, hey, they are not out of this thing just yet.
Yeah, look at us, Alex. Who would have thought?
Hey, look at you being all culturally relevant. Nice.
I don't even know where that came from. I know it's Paul Rudd, but...
yeah, it's First We Feast. It's a really good show. I think you'd like it a lot.
What's the name of it?
Hot Ones First We Feast. It's the host, and they just bring on celebrities to eat really hot chicken wings and talk about the celebrity. It's really cool.
That's all news. I've seen obviously the meme floating around and all. Is that recent or what?
Yeah, I think it's a couple weeks old.
Oh, okay. But you can't help but not see it. That and the basketball player with the hey.
Kawhi Leonard, that's a good one too.
Well, I mean, look at us, Alex. I mean, 4-4. Here we are on a podcast talking about a relevant Pittsburgh Steelers team again at the halfway point, and we talked about. Several weeks ago, where is the optimism and what do they have to do to get us a little bit more optimistic? I believe I was a little bit more optimistic than you were.
You were right. I picked the Colts. You picked the Steelers.
But I mean, even beyond that, I thought maybe this team could get back in this thing. But look, there's a long way to go. I think we both agree if there was a plane to go run and get on yesterday, they should have left that stadium and ran and got on it. Because they did a lot of things in there that did not help them necessarily win that game. We did, however, talk ahead of this game about the problems that Adam Vinatieri has had. The roller coaster kind of ride, especially that last game that he had. I remember talking to Zach about that the other day when we had him on, and you hate to see it come down to a kick and that be the way they win. But Lord knows this team needs a break every once in a while, and they certainly got one Sunday at Heinz Field against the Colts.
They really did. Joe Hayden said it felt good for the ball to kind of fall their way for once in a long while. You're right. It would have been a lot easier to explain this game had they lost it as opposed to winning it. But obviously you take the win any way you can. That's been the mantra and the storyline since his team's been 1-4. They were 1-4 with Duck Hodges on the West Coast against a then decent Chargers team, and maybe still a decent Chargers team. They beat the Packers pretty handily yesterday, and now they're 4-4, which is a spot I don't think most people would have expected this team to be in. We'll talk about the game here in a second. We do want to take a step back, because if we don't talk about it now, we'll forget about it. The roster move this team made Saturday. Because of the injuries at running back, no James Conner, no Benny Snell, questionable Rosie Nix, although he ultimately did play. The Steelers did promote Tony Brooks-James from the practice squad. He wore number 40, got one carry that went for no yards in Sunday's game. And to make room on the 53-man roster for Tony Brooks-James, the Steelers released Donte Moncrief, a move that was expected ahead of the Week 10 deadline to recoup that third-round comp pick. So Moncrief signed a 2-year, $9 million contract in the offseason, rewards Steelers with just 4 catches for 18 yards and 5 drops. Obviously, I think the finger injury in training camp played a part into it. So part of the business. It's not fun to see a guy lose his job, but it was the right decision by the Steelers.
Absolutely it was. And we talked about guessing that they would get it done by Tuesday, and they needed that roster spot for the emergency running back, if you will, in Tony Brooks-James. The writing's kind of on the wall that Paxton Lynch is going to be on this 53 for a while, because I think Kevin Colbert got the scared out of him the last through the start of the season there. So this was a move that had to be made. Now had Donte Moncrief been a contributor and lived up to expectations, even if L.J. Fort, the whole L.J. Fort being cut, and I'm not so sure that they would have cut Moncrief had he, lived up to expectations there. But being as he wasn't, being as how Donte Johnson had come in and did what you kind of hoped, took over that X receiver position. Moncrief was only getting a handful of snaps at best a game. This is a move that had to be made, and they made it, and props to them for making it.
And they will get some salary cap relief for next year. Do you know the specific numbers on that?
We
talked about that.
Yeah, you trim off. You're still going to have dead money associated with him, but you save his base salary in cap space, which is $4 million. And I wrote about that in my salary cap update the other day on SteelersDepot.com. And if it wasn't going to happen this week, it was going to happen by March, and it just so happened now. So there's $4 million that freed up. He's probably going to go ahead and get his full $5 million this year. Of course, $1.5 million base salary, $3.5 million signing bonus, I believe. He can file. Players can file for termination pay. Veterans can once during their career. You have to think, how many more opportunities is he going to have more than a minimum salary contract? So it would make sense to go ahead and for him to file to get what's remaining of that base salary that he was due the rest of the season there. So no salary cap savings that way. But look, it's an unfortunate thing. I think by end of the season anyway, we were hoping that regardless of the start that Donte Moncrief would have got off to, that Donte Johnson would have overtaken him at some point. However, I kind of thought we'd get more like 3 or 4 catches out of Moncrief, and basically they paid for what, about $1.25 million per drop, or $1 million per catch, however you want to frame that thing. So not one of Kevin Colbert's best free agent moves of all time.
Is it his worst? Is really the better question. You kind of had the poll about the Darius Green, which you had Kent Graham, Sean Mahan. For me, I think Mahan's still the worst, just based on talent. Like, you kind of knew from the beginning this is not a good move. But what say you?
It's tough to argue that Moncrief's not. I mean, look, here's you look at what you paid, you look at what you got. At the very least, Ladarius Green did he have a 100-yard game in there against the Giants or something like that?
And fake bubble screen left side.
And then a touchdown catch, or at least a explosive play. I can't remember how exactly it was, but you should have done your homework on Ladarius before all of that anyway, to seeing his concussion issues. So really, when you look at that, what was that contract? 4 years, $20 million, I think, with Ladarius Green. And then you fast forward to, 2 years, $9 million, I guess, with Moncrief. And you look back, I know a lot of people listening to this podcast probably don't remember Sean Mahan. You probably don't remember him playing either, really.
Enough to know how bad he was.
Yeah, he was. Now he did play, but there were times where you wish he wouldn't.
Right. He was more actively harmful to the team, which is kind of why I give the edge to Mahan.
And Kent Graham as well, too. That was holy moly for what they signed him for at the time versus, what you look back at his salary now. It doesn't look like much of anything, but when you consider what the salary cap was at that time and what he was supposed to come in and be, that was kind of a miserable signing, as well. But, look, this Moncrief's going to easily be top 3, I think.
Yep. And I understand, people made some jokes, well, don't feel too bad for him because he made $4 million, he made his money, but I understand that he's probably a prideful guy. Everyone wants to earn their keep, be able to contribute and help your team win. So when you don't do that, it's probably not fun to look at that check, even though you're getting obviously a ton of money. So you just feel for the guy because he was a veteran presence. I think he helped the team a lot in the passing of Darryl Drake's death, and it's just unfortunate that injury hampered him, cost him his job basically, and Donte Johnson played well, and again, it was just the right move. This team's got very few draft picks for next season. They need that third round pick. It was just simply more valuable than Donte Moncrief.
And look, I mean, he seems to be a great human.
Absolutely.
Seems to be the kind of guy that the Steelers like to have in that locker room. Good veteran leadership. He came in, he didn't make waves at all. Worked most of the offseason on trying to get the timing right with Ben Roethlisberger. He said and did all the right things, but got off to that god awful start. Well, look, the finger didn't help there in training camp there, and that kind of probably playing through that probably wasn't the wise thing to do. But I mean, what else would you expect him to do? And you had the drops there right out of the chute with against the Patriots, and a few of those were critical. You go back and it seems so long ago, but you go back and you look at those clips. The drop in the end zone, man, and then the drop on what was it, a third or fourth down?
Fourth down.
One of those plays, though, a couple of those plays, though, really could have turned the tide of that game. Now, I'm not saying that the Steelers would have won that thing, but there were some crucial plays in there. And then you go into that Seattle game, and then the ball, from Mason Rudolph off of his hands is intercepted. They turned around, and, that was a big play, too, because Seattle marched down the field and got points. Off of it there, and he just never recovered from that. So, wish him well. I got a funny feeling he ends up back with Indianapolis this week. Alex, we'll see.
Right, with the injury to T.Y. Hilton, we'll see where Donte Moncrief lands. All right, let's jump to Sunday and look at the injury report. Luckily, for a team that's pretty banged up right now, came out of the Colts game pretty clean. Trey Edmonds with ribs, Ryan Switzer with ribs, and Roosevelt Nix had aggravated that knee. That's what landed him on the injury report late in the week before the Colts game, but he played, and no worse for wear, I guess, overall. So Mike Tomlin said team came out pretty healthy. Obviously, no James Conner, no Benny Snell for that game, no Ramon Foster. All guys that, Snell probably won't play against the Rams. We'll see about Conner and Foster for next Sunday.
You got to wonder about that knee on Nix now. It's probably never going to be right. I don't know if he had to have it fixed or not. Do we ever know if he had? I don't think he did. He's not playing great. He didn't have another, I didn't think he had another great game against the Colts there. And then, re-aggravating that knee, as Mike Tomlin said, you have to maybe wonder if there's a move coming with him pretty soon, depending on the seriousness. I mean, are they going to need to put him down for another 3 games or so to let him get right?
I don't know. I mean, they're playing him right now. I don't have a feel for how well he played on Sunday. I have to go back to the tape for sure on it. But my belief is that if he's out there, he's out there. It's probably hurting him. It probably is a factor, but I don't think they're going to make a move.
Or you just play him until you can't play him no more this year,
Sure.
Because he showed up. Remember, he showed up at the end of last week as questionable on the injury report with it. I still had no doubt that he was going to play, against the Colts. But he looked a little gimpy there on one of those pass plays into the end zone as well, too, there. So I kind of wonder about him. Trey Edmonds and those ribs, maybe that explains him not squaring them shoulders up. I noticed several times throughout the game, man, why is he not running with his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage? I suppose if he's trying to protect those ribs on one side, that might be an explanation for that, but it doesn't sound like that serious. Ryan Switzer, took a hard pop there. I think it was easy to kind of identify on the punt return when maybe that happened with him. But let's see. We'll have to see about James Conner. There's already a few reports floating around that he's at questionable at best, I guess you would say, for the game against the Rams there. And as you mentioned, Benny Snell probably not going to make it back this week, and we'll have to see if Ramon Foster can get back from the concussion this week.
Yep, so that's the injury report there. Basically status quo. Tomlin will talk tomorrow, do kind of his vague. We'll leave a light on for a lot of these guys. I imagine he'll say Conner has a chance, Foster still in protocol. We'll just see where that takes us. I can imagine that's going to be Tomlin's standpoint, and just hopefully nothing new pops up from, once you kind of get out of this game and adrenaline stops and all that. We'll see what happens. So, all right, Dave, before we get into this game, I want to talk about this whole team because there was so much to discuss, but I know you want to talk about a friend of yours, guy that we know and trust and like over at Goody's Original Popcorn.
Yeah, Alex, you know I like to be addicted to things, right?
Just a little bit. That's why you're in 73 fantasy football leagues, right?
That and Lord, it's not hard for me to get addicted to something, and I have found I love popcorn. I've loved popcorn all my life. I'm sure you have eaten your share of popcorn throughout your life as well too. And found a small business here in I have a $25 a week popcorn habit now, and it's easy to do thanks to the folks at Dave at Goody's Original Popcorn here in Las Vegas. And I've always been a sucker over the years for good small businesses, and even though Dave's here in Las Vegas, he's got a small business. He mostly hits a lot of these kind of fairs and weekend kind of functions or whatnot. He'll have a table out there, and that's I catch him every weekend, usually out in Summerlin. Kind of they have a outdoor market there, but the popcorn is absolutely fantastic. I didn't know this until I pulled up his website recently, and supposedly this is good for you. Gluten-free, non-GMO seeds, 100% coconut oil, non-trans fat cheese. So whatever that means is good for you. I didn't know I was getting all those benefits as well. But let me tell you, this popcorn's out of this world. Alex, I know I even sent you, I think, 2 or 3 bags of it as well. He's got all these different flavors. My favorite is spicy buffalo. He's got a great caramel popcorn as well. And what did you think about the Fruit Loops popcorn that I sent you?
Those were actually my favorite of the 3. So, I mean, those 3 you just mentioned, the Fruit Loops were my favorite. They were really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And the spicy buffalo, I mean, you can't get enough of it. If you like spicy and you like popcorn, these 2 things together are absolutely great. Well, Dave has finally got a website up and going, and he's got an offer for Terrible Podcast listeners. Here's what you got to do. Go to Goodies LV. That's GOODYS. And then LV is in Las Vegas, goodieslv.com. Place an order there. You can get these variety packs. You can get these 6-3 either buckets or bag variety packs here for a very nice price. And he'll ship it to you, and you don't have to pay the shipping cost if you use promo code Steelers. So that's very easy to remember. Steelers, go to goodieslv.com. Help this guy out. He's got a small business. It's holiday time, so make sure you go to goodieslv.com. Use promo code Steelers for free shipping. Make sure you try that spicy buffalo, caramel, and Fruit Loops popcorn. You won't be disappointed if you do.
And his name's Dave. Help out another fellow
Dave. Help out another Dave there. Yeah, good guy, good small business, really trying to get things rolling here online and all. So I told him we'd help him out. We'll see where it goes from there.
All right, Dave, you, Dave, not the other Dave, let's jump into this game. Where do you want to start here, defense or offense? I'll leave it up to you. Which side of the ball do you want to talk about first?
Well, I mean, 30,000 feet. I guess we kind of did that, saying this is a game that the Steelers, you're right. It would have been easier to probably explain this game had they lost this game. I think the thing that stuck out the most to me, we'll start with the offense here, is red zone.
Yep. Yeah, it was the biggest thing. And had they lost this game, this would be the number I'd be repeating myself endlessly about. The Colts offense, 3 of 4 in the red zone. Steelers offense, 1 of 4 in the red zone. Typically in those games, you're going to lose that if you're on the wrong side of that number. And so that's what surprised me the most, is that the Steelers still get the win despite the terrible red zone efficiency. But yeah, it's got to get better. This was the number 1 red zone offense last year. Obviously, this offense as a whole is a lot of new faces, a new quarterback, and you wouldn't expect them to be anywhere close to number 1, knowing all that. But I'm not sure where they rank right now, but it's probably bottom 5 in football, especially coming off this Colts game. They got to finish drives. Rudolph said that. Tomlin said that. It's obvious, but they have to finish drives better.
They absolutely do, and that would, like you said, had they lost this game, we're still talking about it because it's a key point in the game, but it would have been very easy to talk about the differences in the 2 teams and how they function in the red zone as playing a part in the game there. They have absolutely got to get better inside the red zone. Mason Rudolph's got to do. Now, look, he had I thought he made a great decision, a great process of reading, going through his reads or whatnot on the touchdown to Vance McDonald. But
definitely.
but that's just thank God he got that too, and throwing short of the look. Good effort by Vance McDonald on that as well too, because that very well easily there were 4 guys right there when Vance caught that ball. If Vance is tackled short of the goal line there, are they kicking another field goal, and are we talking about being shut out in the red zone?
Possibly, yeah. Steelers, I just checked teamrankings.com, has the Steelers 28th in the NFL in red zone offense, scoring 38% of the time. Only teams worse are Arizona, Washington, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati. So bad company to be with. You're right. A lot of missed opportunities. And the one that bugged me the most, because, and I know the Colts were playing soft coverage and they were really playing in the end zone and they weren't allowing anything that seemed open. But it was obviously the Jalen Samuels one where it looks like he scores. I can't tell if he's in or not. Tomlin doesn't challenge. I was okay with Tomlin not challenging because you're second and goal from 6 inches away. You better be able to punch it in. Trey Edmonds doesn't follow his blocks on a power scheme and get stuff at the goal line. And the third down play, I don't remember exactly what happened. I think Rudolph ended up throwing it away after getting flushed out. So that was the one that bugged me the most, because that one should have ended in 6. It didn't, and that could have been a big difference in the game had the Steelers lost.
I thought he had scored, talking about Samuels, I thought he had scored originally, and then I thought he didn't score, and then I thought he scored again.
Were you okay with Tomlin not challenging it, though?
Yeah, I was, because, here's the thing. Even though I've got a great GIF of that up and slowed that thing, is it conclusive? Is it enough to overturn the call on the field? And I don't believe it was. That's the thing. You have to go into these challenges now every time first wondering, is it conclusive? Beyond a shadow of a doubt. And although it looks like that knee is down on that Colts player arm, I don't know if it was conclusive enough. And on the flip, I think it was Dan Fouts. I forget if it was. I think it was Dan Fouts that said, "Look, if you can't punch it in from the 6-inch line, you got to feel pretty good about your chances there anyway." Of course, anything can happen, fumble, snap, blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm fine with him not challenging that. Now, a couple later in the game, we'll get to that. That's a different story there. But I'm okay with that because you should be able to punch it in from the 6-inch line or whatever it was, and they didn't.
Sure, absolutely. The run game, to look a little more broadly, Trey Edmonds, 70 yards, 12 carries in the game. That's the first time he's had 12 carries in the game since 2014 when he was a Hokie after Virginia Tech. Jalen Samuels sets a team record for a running back with 13 receptions. His 13th one was unlucky, though, with the fumble. How do you think the running back group did, minus James Conner and Benny Snell?
Yeah, not great overall. Obviously you had the 45-yard run. We'll have to go back and count up successful plays, and obviously that pin and pull to Edmonds. And look, that's something you hide. I'm surprised we didn't see that at least one more time in the game. Maybe they did, and I didn't pick it out. But that was something on tape where we've seen kind of that pin and pull sweep before against the Colts work.
You know what I love most about that play, and I'm glad because you posted the end zone view from the broadcast on that. It was a split flow action, so there was a lead play with Rosie Nix going to the left, and then you had the pullers of Pouncey and the Cashdo. So watch Darius Leonard, the Mike linebacker on that play, the middle linebacker. He bites inside because he reads Nix getting downhill, thinking it's a lead strong play to the left. And so that allowed Pouncey to get to the outside and be able to make a great cut block in space to get Leonard that sprung Edmonds down the right sideline. So it was that split flow action that really sprung that play, let Pouncey be able to have the space and leverage to make that block. Really good scheme and really well blocked up. And
we've seen them use that pin and pull over the years, and especially when Hubbard last year, right? Or 2 years ago. I forget. But
2 years ago. Yeah, but less so with that split flow action. So that's where having that fullback, even if Nix is struggling and not playing his best and hurt right now, that's just having that element and giving that variety in the run scheme is really critical. And so having him in the game, just in terms of what you can run and then scheme that you can use and how varied you can be. Because honestly, it was the split flow action that made the play. If you're just running straight pin and pull, I think Leonard's able to make that play a lot easier than what ended up happening.
And I thought the tight end or Banner and who was on the other side? There was a Vanette, I think, maybe on that other side. Anyway, both of them on that side did a great job on the pin part of it there as well too. So yeah, once you get the linebacker in conflict, which was the case there, It's that much delayed time that linebacker can get to the outside there and help cover it. But 45 yards for Trey Edmonds right off the bat, and you're thinking, okay, maybe this team's going to really stack up the yardage here. Now, he had a couple other nice runs. Once again, I think if you look at this top to bottom, what did they have? 20, and Rudolph had, I don't think you can count 3 carries for Rudolph there. They weren't successful anyway. You had the end around by Deontay Johnson went nowhere, and Tony Brooks-James had 1 carry for no yards there. So essentially we're looking at, I think, at 22 runs. I dare say maybe 7, 8 maybe successful runs.
I don't know what the number is. I'd have to go back and look at it. But yeah, I thought the run game was decent enough. It provided you something. Although Edmonds mainly played to his style. You're right, he did have to square shoulders and get downhill, but I thought overall he ran downhill, he moved piles forward. I'll take it. He wasn't terribly explosive, didn't really make anyone miss, but didn't hurt this team either. Samuels didn't do a whole lot running the ball. He was there as a check down option. Really didn't make anyone miss, made some weird decisions before halftime, not getting out of bounds and being indecisive, had the fumble. I thought it was the box score definitely looks better than the way Jalen Samuels played, but there was enough of a run game overall, enough of an impact from the running back group to get the offense to have something and some element of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it felt like they were moving the football throughout the game.
Painfully, but they did. Yeah.
Until the end, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But they did feel like they were moving the ball at times, and they did good on third downs overall. And that was kind of painful to watch on a few of them, Yeah. But they were converting, they were moving the football, and the Colts. Look, make no mistake about it, the Colts helped them out with some penalties in this game at key points. That were just, very, very crucial. But it goes back to, and I guess a good time to kind of transition into Rudolph here in his game. I think the plus with Rudolph in this game is less dangerous interceptable throws. Okay, if you go back to the game against the Dolphins and go play by play, he had a couple throws that could have been picked off in that game. That weren't. There really, how many interceptable balls were there in this game?
I don't know the number. Obviously, the interception that he did have was not his fault at all, with Juju just going straight through his hands. So that's, 2 or 3 times this year Rudolph's thrown a pass that's gone through a receiver's hands that's gotten picked. So that kind of skews the numbers. I thought he looked sharp early. I thought he had a good game plan. And then things kind of faded as the Colts warmed up to what they were seeing with Rudolph.
Yeah, I think the Colts, and we'll have to see when the All-22 comes out, how much kind of off, did what they do defensively play a big part in Rudolph being checked down Mason?
Mm-hmm. I think so to some degree, and again, we'll have to wait for the All-22. I know that there's stuff that Rudolph missed, but I know the Colts also played pretty soft, especially in the red zone, especially on third down, that forced the ball underneath. Here's where I come in on the offense, because I know that offense certainly has to be better. I just can't put my finger on what went wrong specifically. It's like when you were a kid and you got in trouble and your parents didn't know what you did wrong, but they just knew you did something wrong and you were grounded for something, and they'll figure it out later. That's where I'm at on this offense. I know something wasn't there. There were definitely some missed chances and something went wrong. I just can't quite yet, until I go through this tape really thoroughly, figure out exactly what went wrong.
I think what we're starting to really see, Alex, and I thought about this a little bit too. Look, there were a couple times where maybe he could have went down the field instead of checking the football down. I think we're going to find 2 or 3 of those.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. But here's the main thing, and I think it goes back to the style of play of what we've become used to as Steeler fans throughout the year with Ben Roethlisberger. That 1 or 2 or 3 times a game where Roethlisberger extends the play and you get the double or triple explosive play off of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing enough downfield big plays still. If Mason hits that throw early down the left-hand side to Juju Smith-Schuster, okay, that wasn't an awful throw. It was great coverage on the outside. Maybe it's one that maybe he shouldn't have thrown, but it was a ball where only Juju was going to catch it, and it did hit his hands. Okay, now if he hits that one, If he hits, tell me another one that was down the field that maybe that was the only one there.
Well, there was the one to James Washington that was complete for 40 yards.
Right, there was that one. On top of, it goes back to the game against the Dolphins too. Kind of later in that game, one on the Yankee concept, and then the one kind of down the other side. They were almost like back-to-back plays, I think. There, if he hits those, you're talking about a little bit different overall performance too. I think what we're missing here is those big plays that Roethlisberger would provide you because of the style of his play.
Absolutely, and there were, I'm sure, some open receivers missed. I know you had the good screen grab on the 4th and 2 failed shovel to Juju. It looked like Donte Johnson was open in the right flat, and that
do you think that's a play where he has the? I mean, is that the way Johnson runs that route and is looking back makes you think that he's a legitimate option on that play?
He's 100% a legitimate option. They've run those plays before. Remember the touchdown to James Conner against the Bengals or the Chargers?
Right, and that crossed my mind as well too. Was he waiting too long for something like that to develop? Because here's the thing. Go back and look at that thing, and we'll get a better look at this with the All-22 for sure. And that's the drawbacks of talking about this game less than 24 hours when we haven't seen certain angles of it too. If Juju gets that and goes more to the outside around the catch, there are 4 players away from the line of scrimmage with their backs turned to the line. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, did the whole timing was Rudolph? Did Rudolph wait too long to make the decision to flip to Juju? 1, number 2, should Juju have turned that thing more up to the outside? And number 3, was Donte Johnson just a better option there?
Probably yes to all those things. That's why I said earlier, I don't know exactly what went wrong with the offense, but you knew, like on that play is a great example of it, you knew something wasn't right, where it was a slow developing play. Maybe run that play before in short yards, goal line situations all the time. But that should have been in a conversion, whether that's the play running quicker, or Juju making a better cut, or Donte Johnson getting the ball, which probably would have been the best option. Yeah, you should have picked that one up. So that's an example of you don't know exactly what went wrong quite yet, but you know something went, askew on the play.
I've seen enough of that for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was open, though. I mean, if Juju made a bad cut, then you could argue, hey, it worked conceptually, just in execution it failed. But yeah, I could probably, because they ran that shovel look earlier in the game on the goal line. They didn't shovel it, but they kind of gave that look, and the Colts have to know that's one of the Steelers' go-to, short yardage plays. So I'd be cool with canning it for a little bit.
Right, and people are gonna say, look, every game I can pick out probably, and you can as well too, 4 or 5 calls where we're going, I don't know about that. But for the most part, when people say, oh, Randy's got to do this, Randy's got to, Randy's play call, you got to remember that a lot of these pass plays, well, a lot of run plays nowadays too, a lot of them are run pass options. Not so much, I don't think, yesterday in yesterday's game, but you got to remember that element too. A lot, there's so much RPO in today's game, and on top of it, you have, for people to call play bad, you better have watched the All-22 on it first, or better be damn sure about what you're saying, because there are so many options in reads with some of these, and if the quarterback doesn't pull the trigger on a certain read, how is that the offensive coordinator's fault?
Sure, no, I understand. We've had this discussion and debate before. It just felt like the offense again wasn't where it needed to be, and I'm sure they can be blamed on the quarterback and blame on the play calling too, because there was some stuff that bugged me from Fichtner, and there's some stuff that bugged me that Rudolph did.
But overall, it felt like a more I hate to say it, but it felt a lot more clunkier than the Dolphins game. I came out of the Dolphins game at least with Rudolph not feeling awful.
Yeah.
Because I felt there was a progress, kind of a grow up.
Sure.
I felt it was more of a grow up game. I don't come out of this game feeling as positive about Rudolph's play. It almost felt like at times too that he was looking to prove that he could stand in the pocket and have better. It's like every week. Oh, you can't throw the football down the field. I'm going to show you I'm going to throw the football down the field. And then the next game, man, he just didn't have great pocket presence. He's got to show better pocket presence. And next game out, he's like, I'm going to prove to you I can have great pocket presence here. You see what I'm saying?
I do. I mean, I know what you're saying by how it looks.
I'm going a little strong there, but
Yeah, because I'm not going to psychoanalyze what's in his head that much. I understand there's an element of him being a perfectionist, not wanting to make mistakes, and that can be what is it, paralysis by overanalysis or whatever the saying is. The worst play that he made on Sunday was that safety he took, which
Sure.
ultimately ended up netting a point for the Steelers on the ensuing safety punt. But that was him. You can't pump fake and drift backwards in your own end zone on, what was that, third down, I believe. He made two great throws against the Dolphins in the end zone last week, and then just kind of collapsed in that moment Sunday. So that was his biggest issue. Pocket presence still been hit or miss. Overall accuracy still some hit and miss. Had that 20 or 16 yarder that James Washington caught was terribly thrown behind. So still issues there. So, and I'm sure he missed several throws in that game too. But I will say that the Colts were playing, taking away a lot of things that forced a lot of checkdowns, and the Colts are just simply a better defense than, say, the Miami Dolphins. They got better talent, they're better scheme, they're better coached. So you would expect Rudolph to have less success against Miami, a team, by the way, he started out terribly against as well. So I don't know. Again, I want to take these things in totality. I don't want to speak in absolutes. Does Rudolph have to be better? Yes. Does the offense as a whole have to be better? Yes. Does the red zone offense have to be better? That's the number one thing. But it was enough on Sunday.
He was 26 of 35, and from a completion percentage standpoint, there's nothing wrong with that. However, when you look at the yardage, and it goes back to what we said about what Pro Football Focus wrote up the other day. It's kind of some smoke and mirrors a little bit when you look at his stats and like his quarterback rating and all like that, because how many interceptions now has he had that's bounced off of receivers' hands that really shouldn't have been on him?
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3, and then how many of the yards that he does have came well out. Basically the receiver provided those because of some nice some yak situations there. So that helped counterbalances the other out there. So look, I mean, we're still on the incomplete stage of Mason Rudolph here. Yeah, he made some good decisions with checking that football down and all. He did make a great throw right out of the chute, and I like that coming out with that early throw to Juju on the left side, kind of getting the rhythm there. Get Juju in the game, get Mason in the game. That drive, of course, continued on there, and then the throw, which wasn't a bad throw at all, goes right through Juju's hands, intercepted, and you have a nice what looks like a start of the game, turn bad on you right away there. So I have a feeling that he was seeing more kind of cover 3, lid quarters type coverages that were forcing him to keep a lid on this thing, and he wasn't taking maybe some of those intermediate throws that may have presented himself, and then just decided to check down instead.
Well, that's basically what he said after the game, just based on how the Colts were playing and how soft their coverage was. It really necessitated him to throw short because there was nothing available downfield. The interception to Juju was a great throw. He stuck that in between 4 defenders, and he made a play like that in training camp that was very similar. I want to say it was to James Washington on the left side too. That was between 3 or 4 defenders, where you felt like, yeah, he finally threaded the needle and fired in there and made the NFL type throw. So that was a great play that unfortunately Juju just let through his hands and turned into an interception. So I mean, that's another, as you mentioned, there's 2 or 3 examples this year where Rudolph's made a great throw that's gone right through the receiver's hands that's led to a pick that is not his fault.
He's got to have better ball security too. He's got to get Peyton Manning. I don't know if you watch any of those ESPN people. If you got the time, not only should you have Game Pass subscription, but you ought to have that ESPN Plus subscription as well too, because just the Peyton Manning quarterback breakdown videos alone that he does are fantastic and well worth that money. And he talks about sometimes when these quarterbacks in the pocket, they ought to have the 2 hands on that ball,
Mm-hmm.
And Rudolph obviously doesn't have lobster claws like, say, James Washington. Too bad that he doesn't have James Washington size hands, But too many times when people get close to that football, that ball comes out way too easy, and it's not just a 1-game thing here. You can go all the way back to what that kind of the first sack that I think he took. Maybe what was it, against Green Bay or something? Back in the rookie preseason there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has become kind of an issue with him when he gets sacked of losing control of the football.
Yeah, there's been some carriage issues that I've pointed out. I think there have been improvements from last year. I haven't done a super deep dive into it, but sure, ball security's got to be paramount. And again, when you're on the goal line on that particular play, ball security, avoiding a safety, avoiding disaster has to be the number one priority. And unfortunately, Rudolph just made a bad decision, held on to the football too long, and that's what happens in the NFL when you hold on to the football and you drift backwards and you're getting blindsided. You're going to turn the ball over, unfortunately.
I think the main takeaway, at least until we look at it 22, look, I'm fine overall from what I think I know with kind of the check down, the shorter passing game, if you will, situation. But I think the red zone, passing and not being there, and then obviously the pocket presence, especially deep in his own end, are two things that are pretty big dings on him in this game.
Sure, they are. And for those saying put in Duck or whatever, because he's going to push the ball downfield, Duck was checked on Charlie in the Chargers game too. He had 7 of his 15 completions went to James Conner, and Rudolph had 13 of his 26 completions go to Jalen Samuels yesterday. So in both games, those guys were both checking it down to the running back time and time again. So let's not pretend like Duck was this guy threading a needle 50 yards downfield. It just simply didn't happen.
What did you see on the deep throw to James Washington there? They motion over with him, which makes you feel like it's maybe man cover. But did you see who was it, Juju or Donte was left to run free kind of up the seam? I'm guessing it was more of a cover 3 look.
This was the completion to Washington?
Right.
Well, Rudolph talked about it after the game. I haven't studied it back, and obviously, again, all 22 you want to wait on, which hopefully will come out before Wednesday's show, that Rudolph said that Malik Hooker, the free safety, didn't get depth, was playing flat-footed, pretty shallow, and that kind of let Washington get one-on-one over the top with the corner and made Rudolph comfortable in throwing it. So that was a time where the Colts have played pretty soft coverage all day, played pretty, don't get beat deep, and then the one time that they kind of were more aggressive and played underneath and shallow, Rudolph saw the opportunity and took his chance. So I don't know the play in particular. I don't know the coverage, but Rudolph said the free safety played shallow, and that let Washington have a chance, and that's why he threw the ball.
You mean you're not running those animations back that are in the corner of the screen like 14 times? Have you even noticed that yet?
What? The animations back?
Yeah, in Game Pass there. Have you not noticed if you click on the little blue X's and O's in the right corner of the screen there, it gives you the next gen stats.
No, I didn't notice that.
The X's and O's real time breakdown of it. I noticed that and you didn't.
I guess so.
Click. Go ahead, and I'll fill some time here. But go ahead and click on that James Washington play if you got Game Pass up. And then look at the bottom of the screen for the little X, for the little blue X's and O's, and click on that there. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm guessing they're going to start adding this, or have started adding this to all the big plays or all key plays. And I think eventually what we're going to see is them add it, because what that is that's the next gen stats. They have these monitors on all the players that let you know yards per separation. It really is. It's a reenactment with X's and O's of the player. You seeing it there?
It's loading tracking data. Oh, how about that? Did they just add this?
They just added that with the last week or two there.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's why I didn't notice it. Okay. Well,
Now look at that play just from the we're going backwards in this world. We're watching animated dots, but watch the motion and watch how the guy goes with it, which leads you to believe it's man, right?
Let me see. Yeah, it was. The ID motion, with the corner traveling with Juju, that would suggest man covered.
Now watch the corner on Washington, kind of outside shade there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, and watch kind of how it kind of seems like it morphs more into cover 3 though, more of a zone. Because look at the left side. Who is it? Juju or Juju out of slot? Well, look how he's able to run free, kind of up the seam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might have been. It might have been combination coverage. You could have had man to one side, zone to one side. Obviously, NFL is a lot more, beyond just man or zone. Everything's combination coverage. Everything is about disguising it. So, I'll have to go through all 22. This is interesting. But either way, the point was, and you can see it on this little animation, that 26 the free safety did not get depth, and that let James Washington one-on-one with inside leverage to run the post. That's where you want to throw the deep ball.
And I think Washington did a great job of, like Rudolph said, stepping on the corner's toes. Kind of, maybe he could have stemmed that out a little bit wider. In other words, leaned on him a little bit, if he leans on him a little bit more and Rudolph puts that ball out there, that might be a touchdown there.
Either way, speaking of Washington, that was his best game as a Pittsburgh Steeler yesterday. 4 catches, 69 yards, showed combative catches, short, great adjustment of the football in that 16-yarder I referenced earlier, and then the 40-yard completion for the big play. I mean, that was a complete game that saw a little bit of everything from James Washington and reminded you why this team thought so highly of him and took him in the second round.
Boy, that great catch on the bad throw by Rudolph from behind him was just a great snag. You hate to see a double catch. But in that kind of in the other one over there on the sideline there, you hate to see a receiver double catch, but because it was a really kind of a contested catch there, it's forgivable. And look, he made the catch, and that's what matters there. So yeah, it was by far Washington's best game as a professional.
Yeah, I mean, that double catch, that was just a great play by the corner. That corner can't play that any better. There was a great example. We have an article on Steelers Depot that breaks down those 3 catches I just mentioned, where the corner does a great job to basically hook Washington's right arm and pull apart his left arm to force the ball to come out. But then Washington fights through it, battles, great hand-eye coordination, concentration, and just hand strength to be able to make that play. So his best performance by far, had a good day against Miami as a blocker, but now you saw what he did as a receiver, and I think that's a good confidence booster for him too, but also just important for him to get some big plays because his offense needs guys to step up. I knew Juju was probably going to have a quiet day. I mentioned that on Friday's show because the Colts were going to do everything they could to take him away. You had to have other guys that stepped up. Deontay Johnson didn't play a ton, only had, I believe, the 1 reception, so he needed somebody to step up and make plays. And Sunday for the receiver group, that guy was James Washington.
Is Johnny Holton going to catch a football?
Nope.
Poor Johnny Holton. He gets like 1 shot a game and doesn't get it. Look, I mean, who's all catching footballs for this team right now? If it's not running backs, it's Juju, Washington, Johnson, and Vance, and maybe Vanette gets maybe 1 a game. That's it. So when's the last time Ryan Switzer caught a pass? And obviously Donte Moncrief ain't going to be catching no more passes.
Switzer last caught a pass against the Chargers that went for -2 yards. His last catch of positive yards was back in week 1 against New England. Had a catch against Seattle that went for 0. So yeah, week 1 basically.
They and we talked about it. I don't think they should have went after Josh Gordon either, but they either need to find a way to maybe take more shots with maybe they need to go more 4 or 5 wide here, confuse some people up here pretty soon. But,
you think? I don't know if I trust this team to go have the depth.
I don't know. Look, they haven't run the football great, Alex, from a successful run standpoint. Now you could go back last year and that was a problem too. Top to bottom, when you look at successful, James Conner had a great season, but, I want higher percentage of successful runs. You obviously like those 40-something yards, but they've got to do a better job of successfully running, and especially in key situations. It looks like they're scared to death to just look. You had the great James Conner run in the red zone last week that was just firing off and going, Maybe they need more than that. And you and I both, we don't like to see the guards pull at the 1. I mean, just too many bodies moving sometimes, too many things to potentially go wrong. Why not just strap it up and, blow them off the damn football,
That was my thought with Edmonds being a 225-pound back, and that was my initial reaction, but Twitter pointed out, and they're right. If Edmonds follows his blocks, he's probably walking in. There's a great example of the cashier looking back on that play, throws his hands up in the air and saying, dude, why didn't you follow me? That should be sick. We should be celebrating right now. So Edmonds, to be fair, I didn't love the idea of pulling the guard because I don't like creating gaps along the goal line where guys can penetrate and blow the plays up. But if Edmonds follows his blocks, it's probably a touchdown.
What was the difference last year? Because quite honestly, if you go back and pull the stats of the Steelers' red zones, and we've done this before prior to last year, was Roethlisberger has never been a great red zone quarterback.
Mm-hmm. It's never been a great red zone offense.
And they've never had a great red zone offense.
Mm-hmm. I mean, those things are
up until last year.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so what was different last year that we're not seeing right now?
That's a great question. I tried to really explore that in the offseason. I know that they avoided a lot of negative plays. There weren't sacks. I don't believe there were a lot of penalties down there, which really helped. But you could say they're not getting sacked this year either. I mean, that's undeniably true. So it was hard for me to pinpoint exactly what it was outside of just Fietner with some better play calls. But it was hard to find why not only was it a better red zone offense, but a historically good red zone offense. It was hard to find that missing link.
For God's sakes, I mean, if you're only gonna throw to Switzer once, maybe a game, put him down. He's got that signature play that he can run, that we saw against Tampa a couple years ago. I mean, last year or whatnot. Do a few things different, other than trying to pull the guards down low and all like that. That other one, I'm not sure what happened on that. Was Rudolph flushed out of the pocket on that one? I mean, it looked like that whole play design was to get the ball to Rosie Nix, but it was covered well, and then Rudolph kept floating towards the sideline, and really almost stepped out, before he got rid of the football there. So, yeah, they're gonna have to do something to fix that red zone.
Yeah,
I mean, look, what are we talking about if they go 3 or 4 in the red zone, and one more of those is a Rudolph touchdown pass. Let's say Jalen Samuels gets in on. I know we're dealing with a lot of hypotheticals here, but let's say Samuels scores on that one that and that was a pass, wasn't it? Or no.
I think it was a run. I think it was a run.
Okay. Let's say Samuels gets in on that one. All right, and then let's say one other one. I mean, he obviously got one to McDonald that got in the end zone. Let's say one of those other drives ends in a touchdown. How are we looking at this whole performance if everything else kind of remains the same except for maybe one more completion for 6 yards and a touchdown? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get. We're looking at it differently. How much differently? I mean, maybe not significantly so, but yeah, I mean, you want to be a good red zone offense. You need to be a good red zone offense in today's NFL. Again, the teams that are behind Pittsburgh, Arizona, Washington, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, a bunch of teams that aren't making the playoffs this year. Kansas City, weirdly 27th in the red zone, but they're the exception that proves the rule. So yeah, the red zone offense has to be better. I'm not saying it has to be 73%. It's not going to be. It's not going to be a top 5 red zone offense this year, clearly. But they need to at least be average. Is kind of the goal for the rest of the season. If they can be an average red zone offense, I think that's not great, but it's enough.
Yeah, with the defense that they have, if they start going 50, 55% in the red zone, they're going to win some games, I think, based on the competition that they, on top of that, the competition that they play. Yeah, I mean, they just got to be better down there.
They do. All right, with the offensive line did well.
I know where I was going to go real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Rudolph, like 5-point-something yards, average intended air yards, and average completion yards, like 3-point-something. And yeah, someone said, well, didn't you want those numbers to be closer together? Well, yeah, but I want them closer together over 6. Ideally, I think you'd like to see your quarterback have, kind of an average completed air yards of around 7, with maybe a average intended air yards of around 8.5. You know what I'm saying? It does. If you have an average intended air yards of like 10, but yet your average completed air yards is like 5, well, that's obviously not good. It means you're taking a lot of shots down the field and not completing them there. And then yesterday, basically, what that stat tells you is, he didn't take a lot of shots downfield, and he completed a lot of shorter passes, which obviously he did.
Yeah, I mean, Samuels with 13 receptions, again, a record for Steelers running backs surpassing what Le'Veon Bell did in 2017, with 12 of them joins only Bell and Franco as running backs in Steelers history to have at least 10 catches in a game, but they were all checkdowns, didn't do a whole lot with him, had a 17-yarder early, and that was kind of the highlight, and the fumble late, which obviously would have been a real Grimble Toussaint-like play had this game ended in a loss. But I wanted to mention the line quickly. I thought they did a nice job overall protecting, did a good job with run blocking. I thought just a nice performance overall from that group as a whole.
Yeah, as a whole, but once again, it's not, it's showing up, I guess, more in pass protection, obviously, than it is in the running game right now, although we did have, some nice pin and pulls in certain plays there. But, yeah, look, that's the least of their problems is that offensive line.
I mean, did you hear, aside from the safety, did you hear Justin Houston's name at all yesterday? Matt Fowler did a great job, and again, that sack that Rudolph took, that's on him. That's not on Fowler because Rudolph's taking forever to get the ball out. I mean, I thought Fowler did a great job in a big time matchup.
I wonder, and I forgot to look at this. It just felt like he wasn't in the game as much. Now, he came into that game kind of questionable. Did they kind of limit his snaps in that game?
I'm not seeing
Houston?
I'm not seeing a snap count.
He played 43. He played 68% of the snaps, Houston did.
It's about in line of his seasonal average.
And there were 63 total. So I guess that's about right. But, yeah, he was kind of, the best way to neutralize Justin Houston?
A run game?
Run at him. At him. And that was his MO at KC as well, too. But yeah, he was, and look, this is a Justin Houston too that'll switch sides. So props to both of those guys. Now getting the ball out a little bit quicker certainly does help in that. But the offensive line not the issue here.
Yeah, I just wanted to give them a little shout out too. All right, anything else with the offense you want to talk about? Or you want to flip over to the defense?
Zach Banner had looked to have another great game at first blush.
Yeah, no victory formation for Banner. I'm mad at Tomlin for that. I want Banner in victory formation.
I'll tell you what else about the offense there. That 4-minute situation, man. Randy's got to get more aggressive at end of games.
Right.
I know it's a young quarterback, blah blah blah. You're trying to protect the lead, but man, you got to let the little baby grow up at some point. Yeah,
you got to close that one out. You got to say we're not giving the ball back here.
Right, because they put the onus on the defense way too many times, and you have a situation in a 4-minute situation there where you can basically put the game away. You got to do it, and you can't go 3 and out there, man.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Dave. I mean, for as well as this defense is playing, and they're playing well, they're going to face some good teams. They're going to face good offenses. They faced one yesterday. They're going to face another one Sunday against the Rams. You can't rely on this defense to play Superman every single week and bail you out. It's just not sustainable.
No, you can't keep going to you can't keep asking them to bail you out like that. No, I mean, they're playing great. How much better do you want them to play? And, as far as the takeaways and the sacks and all go, I mean, look, and I guess it's a perfect time to kind of segue into the defense. They weren't without their warts yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the offense can't keep coming to the defense asking for rent money. They got to get their own job at some point and start contributing some more. But because the defense isn't going to be able to play at that level, because Indy's a good offense even without Jacoby Brissett for the vast majority of this game. I thought the Steelers lost in the trenches. The run defense was not good enough. The red zone defense was miserable. Got that stop early, then allowed touchdowns on the next 3 Colts trips. It was opportunistic, and that's been the storyline of the year, and that continued. And thank goodness for that, with forcing 3 turnovers and winning the turnover battle again. But yeah, the defense, showed some warts, which happens. It's the NFL in 2019. Offenses do move the football.
They got it. They went through a bad tackling spell a little bit in that game, I thought.
Too fouls going forward, too many missed tackles, just a lot of yards after contact that was just unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely. They got the running game against them was noticeably good on the Colts. And look, we knew the Colts were a good running team, right?
Mm-hmm. With a good offensive line too.
With a good offensive line, so we knew that was probably going to be the case in this, but it was noticeable yards after contact in that game for the Colts. They could have limited a lot of that. Just too easy picking up like second down, first downs on the ground, if you will.
And there were some perimeter runs too. Some of them were some reverse stuff with receivers or just backs that got free, where you could have had them stopped for a 4-yard loss. So it might have been a 2-yard run that could have been a 4-yard loss that looks as a successful win on the stat sheet, but a play where you're saying, man, you could have put those guys really behind the sticks, gave them 2nd and 14 instead of 2nd and 8, and that's a big difference. So there was just a lot of, I thought, missed chances for the defense in the pass game, but also really primarily in the run game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the touchdown, yes, Minkah Fitzpatrick, absolutely worth the first-round pick. I mean, we're not going to ever, I don't think, get to a point now where we're hee-hawing around that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I love my weird stats. This game was chock full of them, especially in relation to Minkah. 4 interceptions, Dave. They did it. A Steelers defender has 4 interceptions in a season. Can I get an amen?
Hey, yeah, you can get an amen. Look at us now.
And again, the reason why I'm geeked about that, not only because it's 4 interceptions, but it's the first Steeler to have 4 picks in a year. Any Steeler, linebacker, DB, whoever, since Troy in 2010. It was the longest drought in NFL history ever. Active, done, whatever. It was the longest drought, and so to end that is, for me, is a weight off my shoulders.
Absolutely, and he made a great read and he talked about the one on Hoyer there.
Yeah, reading the quarterback, and just, Hoyer kind of telegraphed it, and Minka sitting there, free safety, middle of the field, jumped it, and 96 yards the other way, the third longest pick six in Steelers history, including the postseason. Of course, the number one is James Harrison's 100-yard return against the Super Bowl, and the other one, I got to have some 1933 knowledge on the timeline yesterday, which is always a fun day for me. Marty Cotler, 99 yards in 1933 against, would it be Boston, I think, back then. That is the first touchdown scored in Steelers history, if you can believe that. 99-yard pick six, and so Minka slides into third place on that list.
Now that we praised him, what about that touchdown to
Pascal?
Was it Pascal?
I think it's Pascal.
Yeah, I know Hilton was underneath. It looked like Hilton was expecting some help there.
Yeah, Minka said that he, threw that ball. Hoyer threw that ball over him. I'll have to go back and watch it. Probably fair to say Hilton was expecting some help there, and Minka didn't get enough depth. But I will have to go back and reevaluate that play.
Looked like Hoyer did a great job of kind of manipulating Minka on that one. Okay, I mean, look,
Mm-hmm.
if we're gonna dole out the good, we got to dole out the bad, right?
Yeah, and that goes back to the red zone defense not being good enough. I mean, that's been the strength of this team. I circled that as the big stat. I think it was my X factor for the week. Who's going to be better in the red zone? Colts had the number 3 red zone offense. Steelers had the number 6 red zone defense. Colts won that battle, but Steelers won the war. So you take it. But again, had Vinatieri made that field goal, this is the stat we would have been talking about endlessly, was the red zone efficiency.
And that was a 14-yard pass right there. Now the Doyle pass, Bush kind of in his angles. So Bush kind of guesses a little bit right now, right?
He isn't kind of. He is guessing, and he doesn't need to. I mean, it's Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle is not a better athlete than Devin Bush, not by a long shot, but Doyle's a more advanced and crafty route runner, and that's why route running and separation is king. It trumps pure athleticism. So Bush doesn't need to guess there. He tries to bite on the outside stem. It's a good angle route by Doyle. I thought Bush kind of got better, had a breakup on a crossing route. I think it's Hines later in the game. But, yeah, that's a moment where Bush has struggled in coverage because he's got to learn how veteran, receivers and tight ends run their routes and how they set things up. And there's a work in progress there for Devin Bush.
And what happened on the I'm drawing a blank on the coverage on the Rodgers late touchdown.
Oh, I am too. With Chester Rogers, what time and frame in the game was that?
8:43, and in the fourth, all of a sudden, I'm drawing a blank on that play in the cover. I want to say maybe Minka had a part in that one as too. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
Try to pull it up here really quick if you want to advance for a second. How'd you think of the corners there? I thought Joe Hayden. You stalled.
I thought Joe Hayden played a much better game in contesting some catches, especially in this one, and closing quickly on the ones that were completed. Kind of in front of him. I'm kind of look. You would expect a veteran like him to have a kind of a bounce back game. That he had. So yeah, it was fine. And outside, Nelson, he had a missed tackle early. I think on one of those completions, maybe it was to the running back or something up the side there, which is a nice play design on one of them that they got to Nyheim Hines, I think it was there. I'm looking at the Hoyer touchdown as well right now too. It was a roll.
2.
No, that was the one that he put over Minka right there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see the all 22 of this one too.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to roll out. They're looking short. Play gets extended, and that was the other thing. Not to diverge from this too much, we can come back to this play. But while the Steelers' red zone or the third down defense looked good on paper, they gave up some big plays on third down that let the Colts go for it on fourth down. Whether you're talking the 18-yard completion on 3rd and 19, set up the 4th and 1 that they converted, which ultimately ended in a fumble, I believe, but still a bad play by the defense, or the I don't know how it happened. Cam Hayward missing a sack on Brian Hoyer that set up that 4th and 2 touchdown that should have been a field goal for Indy, but turned into 6 and 7. So some missed chances for this defense. While they made some plays, they missed a ton of opportunities too.
All right. When you look back at this Charles Rogers, look, you got two, one trying to kind of rub the other one off there, and Barron and Hayden both take the under guy. I think that's Ebron there in that situation, and Rogers is allowed to leak back out and back there. I don't know if it was a mix up between Barron and Hayden as to who was going to go with Ebron there. But Rogers is all alone back behind him there, and Minka's probably got help in some area there.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at it. It's too hard for me to say right now, but it's a play where it's a rollout. You're thinking it's short, play gets extended. Defense has to do a better job there. The dude's too open, but that is a tough spot to be in. And again, if you get the stop on third down, if you sack Hoyer, it's 4th and 6 or 7. Colts are kicking a field goal. So what can the Steelers team do to not put themselves in that situation? That's almost as important of a question to me as what happened on that play itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we talk about the importance of red zone in the Steelers offense not getting it done. One more extra stop in this game by the defense, and it wouldn't have been in the situation that they were in.
I still kind of pinch myself. This team won the game despite being 1 of 4 in the red zone offensively, and the Colts being 3 of 4 in the red zone offensively. You told me those numbers before the game, I would have said, not. It would the answer would have been not, did the Colts win? It would have been how much did the Colts win by? But so the fact that the Steelers won this game is just kind of blows my mind.
Well, when you look at that, not only that, but the Colts had 4 to 3 in the explosive play category. The Steelers, the Tox ended up even, I guess you could say. And then, usually if the Tox is even, if you go and you look at the red zone stats, you would probably pick the team that had the better red zone percentage there. Most definitely if the Tox stat was even.
Yeah, here's the crazy stat though. Again, I mentioned earlier, Steelers won the turnover battle 3-2. They lost a turnover battle against New England. I think 1-0, whatever it was. They have won the turnover battle in 7 straight games. I don't know when the last time that's happened to anybody. Even the Patriots haven't done that this year. So 7 straight games, they've won the turnover battle. That's nothing short of remarkable.
Well, they're up to 23 turnovers now? 23 takeaways?
I think it's 22, not to split hairs.
22 or 23.
Which I didn't get to include some of my stats of the weird, but they have 22 takeaways through 8 games. That's the most takeaways they've had through 8 games since 1996. So big numbers here.
All right, I'm looking at the overall picture right now. 11 interceptions, 11 fumbles, 22 takeaways. They're plus 11 in net differential. Right there, second behind New England, obviously in the league. Look, they're going to hit the 25. They better.
They're kind of blow it out of the water.
They're going to hit that, and they're back on pace for 58 sacks.
Maybe they can hit that 60. It's still possible.
Maybe they can hit that as well too. So you would figure, man, if this is a team that should blow past the 25 takeaway number. Heck, what's the record takeaways for the Steelers in a season?
Well, I'm sure back in the 70s you had some skewed numbers with the way picks were thrown. I can look it up, but I don't think they're gonna hit that. The 58 would be a sack record since sacks have been tracked in 82, so that's a number. I think the record is 56 set in 2017, so they could set a new team sack record.
I mean, could this team hit 30 takeaways?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I would be disappointed if they didn't. They got 22 at the halfway point. They're on pace for obviously 44. So they better be able to hit 30. Maybe 35 is kind of what I'm thinking.
Let's see. Last year, Chicago led the league with 36. You had 3 teams 30 or more last year in takeaways. You had 4 teams in 2017 over 30 takeaways. And did all 4 of them make the playoffs? Baltimore, Jacksonville, Detroit, Philadelphia. 2016, you only had 2 teams have 30 or more takeaways, Kansas City and Oakland. Did Oakland make the playoffs in 2016?
You're asking me too much on a Monday morning. I don't know.
2015, you had 4 teams. And the Steelers were one of them. The Steelers had 30 takeaways in 2015.
Yeah, I think Oakland made it in 2016. Wasn't that the Connor Cook backup quarterback battle, whoever they were playing that day? Steelers' record for takeaways in the season since the merger is 55 back in 73,
Wow.
which, again, that's the interceptions back then. The interception rate was so much higher. Since Colbert got here in 2000, the top takeaway mark is 36, set in 2002. They had 35 in 2010, a Super Bowl appearance year. So good challenge that for the Colbert era, at least.
Right. All right. What else about the defense? Probably not the best game for Javon Hargrave in that one, but Cameron Hayward did a great job against Quentin Nelson, at least at first blush on the TV tape.
That was the 5-star matchup, and I'm sure that Nelson had his wins. He had that great pull block on Joe Hayden that cleared the way for a big run. But I thought overall Hayward won the day. And not that I want to make light of Brissett's injury. I hope he's okay. I know he's week to week with an MCL injury. That was unfortunate for the Colts. But on that play, Hayward is just walking Nelson back into the pocket, unlike, something that we don't see too often from a guy like Quentin Nelson. So I thought Hayward really stepped up and reminded. I had someone, I don't like to dwell on individuals, but I had somebody on my timeline earlier this week saying, Nelson's going to annihilate Cam Hayward. Well, you don't know who Cam Hayward is, apparently, and I think it was the other way around on Sunday.
But not a sack guy.
That's what Berger said. 50 sacks now in his career?
Not yet, right? He's still at
still 49. He didn't have one yesterday. He didn't have a half sack.
I don't know I don't think he got. Was he credited with a half sack yesterday? I don't think so. Was he?
I think you're right. I don't think he was, but he's right there. He'll get to 50.
Yeah,
soon.
I mean, he's going to get there sooner.
Better player, Aaron Smith or Cam Hayward? Someone asked me this. Someone asked me to rank Kiesel, Smith, and Hayward.
Look, I don't think it's fair because Aaron Smith was asked to two gap so damn much, man.
I'm asking you.
No, it's got to be Cam.
I ranked it Cam, Aaron Smith, and then Kiesel as a clear third place guy.
But I will say, look, I'll say this about Aaron Smith. His career was extremely underrated.
Sure.
Because of the style, because of the things that he was asked to do in the era of football, because that was a run to football first a period of time with him, and that's why the 3-4 defense, that's why the Okie defense was on the field for so much, those guys up front, the Casey Hamptons, the Aaron Smiths, the Brett Kiesels, those guys were asked to sacrifice and take on blocks so that the linebackers could roll up the tackles, and when They weren't allowed to one gap penetrate a lot on pass rush either. So that kind of hurt their stats on top of it. So, but I mean, pound for pound, player for player, yeah, you'd have to take Hayward, I think.
Yeah, I would too. I understand two gapping scheme, free up the linebackers. That's you're doing your job. But I think Hayward was just more of a dynamic player, better athlete, better pass rusher. Aaron Smith though did have 8 sacks twice in his career, so it's not like he couldn't offer anything as a pass rusher. But you're right. It's a good debate to be had.
Bud Dupree.
I was waiting for you to say it. Pay the man, Dave. Pay the man.
I'm not saying he's not going to be worth that money. Where have I ever said that he's not worth that money? He's going to get that. He's going to get that money.
So you're saying he's worth the money?
And when have I ever said he's not worth the money?
I'm asking you now. Is he worth the money?
I've always said he's going to get.
Okay, well there you go. I think you're saying it now. You're saying he's not worth the money.
No, I've always said he's going to get the money.
You just said that he's worth. You've never said he's not worth the money.
No, I never said that he wasn't going to get that money.
Oh, you're a double negative. Okay, so just tell me, have your thoughts on Dupree's future?
What do you understand my thoughts on Bud Dupree being?
That he wasn't worth paying for.
No, you were misconstrued. I said they can't afford to pay him.
Okay, but you think if they could afford to pay him, that he's worth the money?
Man, you got some comprehension problems, my friend.
I'm just asking a question. Do you think he's worth the money? It's just.
I've always said he's been worth the money. That he's going to get paid that money from somebody.
And if the Steelers could afford it, you would be in favor of them paying.
Yeah, but they can't. I mean that's been my whole look. Can you find a way to pay a guy? Yes, absolutely you can. In the salary cap era, you can restructure contracts. You can move money around. If you really want to pay a guy, you can pay a guy.
Right. You know that better than anybody about the way you can restructure. I'm looking at Zadarius Smith's contract, and just as a framework, his cap charge this year is what, $7.25 million? I think the Steelers could probably afford that if they handle this thing right.
You can always find out a way to pay
All
the
right.
guy.
So the Steelers, you can't. So it's fair to say the Steelers could afford to pay Dupree if you structure the contract the right way. It's not that they can't afford to pay him.
They can and they can't, but I mean, it's semantics because you're going to have to find a way. Here's the thing. Before you even get to the point of paying him, you're going to have to place a franchise tag on him. Yes or no?
I don't believe you have to.
When have you not seen something like that happen, Alex?
What do you mean?
When have you seen someone not required a franchise tag after their final year to lock them up to a very lucrative deal?
In Pittsburgh or across the NFL?
In Pittsburgh.
I don't know, but I don't know there's a lot of situations that are quite like this either. I don't think you have to have. I mean, how often do they really use the franchise tag? Yes, on Le'Veon Bell. Yes, they've used it on players before, but there's got to be examples of some players that have gotten a deal done before free agency. It can't be every single player has been franchise tagged. I just got to be someone.
As far as top dollar for their position goes,
sure.
That's the way it's been with them. Go back to Lamar Woodley. You had to tag him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
not in favor of tagging him. I mean, in the sense of you just couldn't. That's something you literally just could not afford. I understand you'd be franchise tagging to try to work out a long-term deal, but I think that's kind of a risky spot.
Here's the thing: Dupree would be foolish not to at least have his market value explored that way, and by requiring first the tag. Okay.
Okay.
If he gets the tag, he knows he's going to make X amount for at least 1 year. All right. Can the Steelers avoid the tag? Yeah, but they're going to have to pay him more than the tag.
Well,
so you have to force the mechanism first.
I guess I know that no player wants to be tagged though, and if you could offer a long-term deal that's worth $15 million per year, which might be slightly below what the tag is. I'm not quite remembering what the tag number is. I think it's 16-something million. Then I think you could try to negotiate. I just think it's possible to negotiate an offer that would be, fair market value of what he's going to get.
I think you're putting too much faith into his loyalty or whatnot because, damn it, if I'm him right now too, everything that's been written and said, blah, 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 what have you, and him looking around seeing Za'Darius and see some of these guys that really, what did Za'Darius have in his final year with Baltimore? Eight sacks?
Yeah.
Okay. Bud's probably going to blow that out of the water, you would hope.
Yeah, probably.
All right. And what does Za'Darius get for average? I put all this in, I thought, in the article the other day about Za'Darius and thought I made it pretty clear that Bud's going to get paid.
Yeah, I think everyone knows Bud's getting paid. I'm not arguing otherwise, but I'm just arguing that this team, if they really want to, they could afford Bud Dupree. You can structure a contract to make the cap work. I just think that that's something that everyone understands.
But my whole point being is you're going to have to force that mechanism first of the tag. And to force that, you have to be able to fit the tag underneath your cap before you even, by the start of March. I mean, look, you put the tag on the player by the deadline, February, March, or whatnot. Okay, so you put the tag on him. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not going to turn around by March, whatever date it is, the first day of the new league year, and all of a sudden have him signed to a new deal.
Okay.
It's just not going to how it's.
Yeah.
It's the type of thing that runs into the into the off season when negotiating with him. So basically, are you going to be able to afford to carry him most of the off season with that tag cap hit around his neck?
I don't know if you wanted to, hypothetically, why couldn't you offer him a deal that's worth $17 million per year and avoid the tag altogether? Is there no possibility of this team working out a long-term deal without putting the tag on Dupree first?
I know better than to speak in absolutes like that. But the guy has got to force the tag and get his maximum, see what he can get maximum. Is there a team out there willing to pay him $20 million?
Sure. Yeah. Possibly.
And look, you know how contracts work. I mean, and guarantees and all like that. You got to get as much as you can get when you can get it.
Absolutely.
Because
I'm all for the players getting
you might only last one game.
Yeah.
So that's my whole preface on this, and I think that you missed on it. It's not that I don't think Bud Dupree isn't going to get paid. All right, he's going to get paid as if he stays healthy, and he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid more than the cap number, I think. Now the question is, who's going to pay him that money? If the Steelers want to be in this and be able to retain him, it has to start with tagging him.
Okay. I just can't believe that they would. The idea that they just simply can't afford him. I believe that you're always able to afford a player if you can move stuff around and structure a deal the right way.
But you're. I mean, I've already painted the pretty good picture for you, right? As far as what the cap situation is going to be. Are you willing to restructure Roethlisberger?
No, I'm not going to restructure Ben.
Okay.
Tua probably going to get restructured.
Right, but that's probably going to have to happen anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably you're right. It's probably going to have to happen anyway. The disagreement is just that the idea that they couldn't be able to afford him, or that you have to 100% have to put the tag. I know you're not saying 100%. You don't want to talk in absolutes, but I think that there is at least a path or a chance that you could work out a long-term deal before free agency. I'm not saying he's going to stay a Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not going to guarantee anything by any means, but they like Dupree. Everyone knows what he's going to be worth. Steelers aren't going to lowball, and you can structure it in year one, just as the Packers have done with Darius Smith. It's going to keep his year one cap hit pretty low and pretty manageable, and make this deal work.
Here's the thing, though, too, Alex, that you have to remember too when it comes to the Steelers and structuring contracts. Let's say Bud Dupree, his market value is throw me out a market value here, $17 million, 17 and a half, 18,
17-ish, 17 to 18 million.
All right. How much money is he going to, because of cash flow, is he going to have to take home in year one to sign such a deal?
We talked about this on Friday. Didn't we say like 30? You said 32 million in the first 2 years. Wasn't that the number you used?
Yeah, roughly. And you're going to have to give him probably, I don't know, 22 or 23 million in year one. Okay.
Okay. That's including a signing bonus.
That's signing bonus and base and roster, but whatever. Okay, he has got to take home probably 22 or 23 million in 2020. Okay. Now remember, you're not dealing yet. We're assuming that there is no old money, new money here with the tag or whatnot. We're going to use your scenario of getting him signed before having to use the tag. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's another thing that's a carrot that has to be out there to get him to sign early, is you're gonna have to put some money in his bank account in year one.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay? So let's say $23 million. All right. Well, his minimum salary can be probably a million or so. I forget how many accrued seasons he's got.
I think it's $1 million, because Darius Smith's base salary is $1 million this year.
All right. So and you can only stretch a signing bonus out for 5 years. Okay. Yep. So let's say you wanted to go as low as you possibly could with a cap hit on him. All right. So what's I still think the Steelers would try to give him like $1.5 million base. Mm-hmm. Or so. All right, so $1.5 million minus from 23 leaves you 21.5. What's 21.5 divided by 5?
Let me pull it up. 4.3. 4.3.
Okay. So add that to the 1.5 base. So you're at about 6 or 7 million, cap charge or whatnot. All right. But on top of there, you're now, you're going to have to give him, I mean, if his average yearly value is 17, then he's going to have to be well over $30 million in the first 2 years. That's going to have to be around $35 or $36 million in the first 2 years that he's going to have to take home.
Yeah, no one's arguing the dude's going to be very costly, and there's a great debate to be had. Hey, it's a 1 year thing. Are you going to pay for that for 1 year? And obviously that's still going to have cap constraints. Even if you could afford it, it's going to have other difficult decisions. If he's going to be eating up cap space, not only for this year, but certainly throughout the rest of his contract. You're going to pay Watt, you're going to pay Juju, Connor. Understood. So I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I'm just saying is that this dude's having a great year. I think health's a big part of it, and to get to the game itself, I mean, that was the best game of Bud Dupree's career yesterday, and to do that against a great left tackle in Anthony Costanzo.
I mean, I know we went down a rabbit hole here with his contract, but do you understand the challenges that you're up against here now with getting him signed?
Yeah, and I understood that when you broke down the cap on Friday's show, whenever it was. I understand it won't be easy. I'm not guaranteeing it was. I'm not even sitting here and saying they have to do this. I'm still a little leery of it because you understand the history of Bud Dupree, but he's going to get paid by somebody, whether it's Pittsburgh or another team. And based on his play this year, I mean, it's hard to argue he's not worth it, especially when you compare it to what guys like Zadarius Smith got, who was in a similar situation last year. Dupree's probably going to exceed what Smith did in 2018, and that's going to make him very much of a valuable asset.
I'm just telling you, it's going to be tough, and fans aren't going to like it. I mean, we're talking about a same fan base here that was pissed that they picked up his fifth year option.
Yeah, and I was against that. I was wrong, for the record. He's playing better than I thought he would. I've always been, I think, a little high on Dupree, probably one of the more optimistic people on Bud Dupree, but I did not see this year coming.
I mean, it was hard to see this year coming.
Mm-hmm. But I really do, and I know everyone's going to say contract year, and the dude's just trying to play for money, and that's an element of it. I'm not so naive to believe that's not. He's even talked about, he knows how much is at stake for him and his future. But I really believe the number one reason why Bud Dupree is having a career year is because of health, because all those nagging upper body injuries, the torn pec last year, the elbow injury in 2017 that was really underreported, those are gone. He's able to play healthy now for the first time really in his career. Had a groin issue that caused him miss first half of the year several years back. I mean, him being healthy this year to me is the number one reason why he's able to have this type of success.
Well, we're seeing, we're seeing some speed, but we're seeing some things that we haven't seen him do.
Because he's healthy. And everyone's going to say, well, someone said he's a technician now, and it's not the health, it's a technician. When you're healthy and you can use your hand use and you have full range of motion, that's when you can become a technician and use your hands and convert speed to power, as you mentioned. So it's the health that lets you do everything, lets you feel good, not have to feel like you're compelled to only do one thing because you can't lift your arm above your head, a thing that Dupree could not do in 2017. That's what he told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. So the health really just kind of unlocks all your tools.
Look, it'd be nice if they'd be able to retain him, but mm-hmm. I just don't see it, Alex. I mean, can you manipulate and massage the salary cap to afford anybody? Well, yeah, we know the answer to that. You can restructure a lot of guys, but look, are you willing to cut Vince? Are you willing to cut Foster and not have Finney back? I mean, sure, there's ways. There are ways to do this, but not the way that you would that you probably have in your head to be able to keep the people that you want to be able to keep.
Well, I'd have to lay out the whole thing. I'm no Omar Khan over here, and I don't know the cap as well as you do. But I believe it's going to be expensive, but I also believe there's a way to structure the deal, just as the Packers did, to keep that year one cap hit down, which is what the Steelers typically do for a lot of their deals anyway. So you wouldn't have to necessarily cut everybody or restructure everybody for at least year one, because I think you can keep his year one cap hit to about $8 million, roughly.
Yeah, $8 or $9 million, but it's still you're already dealing with a team that's well up against it anyway. Sure. Like I said, are you if you want to fully restructure Roethlisberger and make you're going to get in a situation. How much are you wanting a mortgage to do it?
That's really the big question, is how much are you willing to kick the can down the road? And I probably would not do Ben, because I know that's going to be a massive cap hit in 2020. But, you're obviously going to be cutting Barron. Moncrief's gone. Chicolo's going to be gone. I know that's not saving you a gaudy amount of money, but you restructure maybe the Castro. Hayward deal is going to create a little bit of space. I mean, I get you laid everything out, but I just believe that there has to be a path, and the Steelers have been up against the cap before. We said they can't afford this, they're going to be screwed, and they've always kind of found a way to make it work.
Look, once again, I've never said that he's not worth the money, or won't be worth the money, based on the way this season is going, but you cannot not expect him to explore the market.
Sure. And he'd be stupid not to, because he knows how much he can get paid out there. Absolutely.
Right. So it's going to make it tough. I know everybody all of a sudden, it's funny what production, what all of a sudden production will make, because people, $9 million for Bud Dupree, that's overpaying him.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get more than double that $9 million.
Yeah, and I thought Vince Williams said it well and said it pretty earnestly yesterday about everybody gave Bud all this crap, and understandably so, because he was underwhelming.
It was understandable crap they were giving him, though.
Sure. But again, I think that what Vince went on to say, and I know you had the tweet, that's how I saw the comments, was that, Bud's played hurt so much, played through so many injuries, and he's toughed it out. This guy, I said this before, even when it was unpopular, this guy's a very tough player, Bud Dupree is. He's played through a lot of injuries, played through a lot of pain and stuff that would have caused a lot of guys to sit on the sideline. So I think that's part of the reason why he had struggled so much. And I think Vince, being an insider, knowing what all Bud's been through, makes you feel really good about what he's doing right now. And the team seems genuinely happy for the production he's putting up.
But didn't you even think Bud was probably going to be gone?
Yeah, I know. It's still possible that he could be because the options.
I'm talking before this year.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, is that the options were either he was going to struggle and you just move on from him, or he was going to play so well that he was going to be very hard to retain. And maybe I'm wrong on that. I mean, maybe he obviously is to the latter where he's playing so well, and now you're trying to see if you can keep him. So it's certainly possible that Bud Dupree is gone. He could sit there and get a $19 million offer in free agency, or doesn't want to play in Pittsburgh because of all the criticism he took early in his career. That's all possible. I'm not guaranteeing Bud's going to be back, but I think you got to at least really look hard at how you can try to look at retaining him for a price that makes sense.
Okay, where to?
We're just pass rush in general. TJ Watt, again, a great game. Kind of, the pass rush was quiet early. They had Brissett and Hoyer was having all day, but I thought once the Steelers got a lead and got later in the game and kind of wore the Colts' very talented offensive line down, that lost their center, Ryan Kelly, early in that game, the pass rush really warmed up, and that was a big factor in the defense making some stops late.
Yeah. I'm not gonna disagree with you. Yeah, there.
Okay. Anything else with the defense you wanted to mention? Again, linebacker struggled some. Devin Bush didn't have his best game, but I thought Hayden played better. Just an opportunistic defense, and that's been the theme of the season. You would like to
see them. You would like to see them get off the field in certain situations better. Look, they had They had that key third 3-and-out stop. When was that? Fourth quarter?
I don't remember. I think that sounds right. Early fourth quarter.
So we had that one there. Just my overall takeaway goes back to the way we started this thing. Red zone on both sides of the football could be better, both ways. And if it is, then that game's not as close. How big was that? Extra point block maybe by Cameron Hayward.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is your? I know that's not going to mean much now. Who is your team MVP this year? Is it Minka? Is it Watt? Is it Hayward? Dupree? I can't imagine to be anyone on offense, but who would be your MVP leader right now?
Man, Minka taking that was a huge turning point in that game, man. I mean, if they go in for a score there,
it was 10-3 at that point, right?
Was it?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it was 10-3. Yeah, I think it's 17-3, early to mid second quarter. Very different feel of that game.
I mean, it's a lot different game. That was a huge turning point in the game, and he's provided some takeaways that have led to. I mean, how he's had his hand in 4 interceptions. How many forced fumbles? 1.
I forget if it's a fumble recovery or a forced fumble. Was that against the 49ers? Let me look.
He had the forced fumble against the 49ers. I know that.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a fumble. Yeah, forced a fumble. He does not have a fumble recovery. He has the forced fumble. So he's been responsible for 5 takeaways this year.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. And to run that thing back on top of it, man. That was a huge turning point in the game there.
And credit for Ola Adeni to take on Quentin Nelson and get truck sticked by him when he probably didn't need to. But just open grass, 96 yards. Best safety since Troy in a Steelers uniform.
Here's the thing overall too. You can't keep expecting this defense to bail you out every week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hey, they keep doing it. I mean, you're right. It is going to be difficult, but thank God for Minka because, well, I think Edmonds has been okay and steady. We haven't talked about Edmonds too much. The guy just does not force big plays. He's got 1 career takeaway in a year and a half of starting, and so if he had 2 safeties that didn't make plays back there, he'd be in a big world of trouble.
All right, Mike Tomlin at the end of the game there. First, the Nelson. It looked like the feet just got tangled up more than anything on that play. It was a big play. were you that confident in it in challenging it? I mean, I guess I'm not as irritated by that challenge as I was him trying to get draw pass interference, offensive pass interference a couple plays later there. I mean, to me, with the ball being thrown over the head, but I mean, how many times do we see that even ruled? How many times has it been reviewed that the pass has been over the uncatchable, and that's caused a flag to be picked up via a challenge?
I think Steratore said it hadn't happened yet, which I believe. And I thought to be uncatchable, it has to be super, super egregious. Obviously, he probably wasn't catching that, but it's got to be incredibly obvious. I understood the challenge because it was such a field-flipping play, but I knew that Tomlin had a very small chance of winning that one.
I did as well, too, but I was more okay with that one than I was. I mean, you can't just go going Andy Reid with your timeouts.
I mean that second one was inexcusable. It was maybe one of the top 5 worst decisions Tomlin's made in game as a Steelers head coach. It had been a Terry kick, connected on that 43-yarder, and the Steelers go on to lose that game. That is the moment we're talking about, and every radio show in Pittsburgh's talking about today. That was an inexcusable, desperate, when he didn't have to be decision, because he was not winning that challenge. I mean, that's just 100% not going to win that, and so you're just burning a timeout and allowing the Colts to basically run out the clock, and they almost did. It
really felt like a grasp at the straws type of thing. And
it didn't have to be. I mean, there was still some time left. You could get a stop, force the field goal, and get the ball back potentially. So it's not like if there were 3 seconds left in the game, then yeah, you throw the challenge, and why not? What do you got to lose? But there was no good reason to do that. And Tomlin knows that. He's talked about how you're not winning those challenges. So I don't know what he's doing in that moment.
And wouldn't you rather have that tight end? I mean, that timeout just in case,
Yeah, absolutely.
For a miracle,
Because even if Vinatieri makes it, it was a minute 14 with no timeouts left. A minute 14 with no timeouts and a minute 14 with a timeout left is a big, big difference.
What else do we have here? Look, I mean, the Colts shot themselves in the foot. The penalty at how big? I mean, you want to talk about some big plays in that first half. The Minka pick six, and then the penalty that put the Steelers in field goal range there. I mean, that's a huge swing right there.
Yeah, massive. I don't know why Rudolph's throwing the out to McDonald there when he's not going to get out of bounds. That was just a dumb decision. But yeah, Boswell, heck of a job by Boswell. 4-4 yesterday, I believe, with the 51-yarder.
Yeah, great. He surprised me. I mean, I'm still going to worry about him, and I'll still worry about every kicker that has problems moving forward. But he has done good at shaking all that. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I'm not particularly worried about him. I mean, he'll miss at some point, I guess. But, I mean, he looks like old Boz again. And the Tomlin said, the question isn't what made Boz good this year. It's what happened last year, because that's the anomaly at this point.
Yep.
Special teams, though, as much as I love Danny Smith, the kick return game is just abysmal. I mean, you can blame Switzer all you want, but the blocking just isn't there. The kick return game was not good enough. They did force the fumble on that. Trey Edmonds, first man down there. Danny helped pop that ball out. But the return game, the coverage game, not good enough yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, they haven't been great on it. Look, it was a miracle of fate that they came out of that whole sequence with a +1 point. They really should have buried. If you get gifts like that, though, too, you got to bury those. It goes back to us talking about the red zone and things along that nature and all. But yeah, I mean, special teams, it's had its issues, and the punt return and the kickoff return, and Switzer just goes down way too easy on top of it. It's a mess.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say, and I know that you understand this, the blocking is just terrible. I don't think Switzer had a chance on either of those returns yesterday.
Yeah, but we've been talking about the blocking's terrible for how long, though, Alex?
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, I mean, I think it's accurate, but it gets to a point, and I've said this before, begrudgingly maybe, but that it does get on Danny Smith at some point where you say, you've had so many different faces and combinations and scheme stuff, but it doesn't get better, and eventually that does reflect on coaching. I think that's absolutely fair to say. And my biggest criticism of Danny Smith for years now has been the kick return game.
And they're not getting much out of punt return game either, but
hardly any punts yesterday, I guess. Barry only had the one punt,
right.
So that was nice. Let me see where the Steelers are in kick return average. They got to be last, I think, if I can pull it up. I can't get the numbers right now. We'll get that from.
All right. One. Let's see. What else was there? I was going to go one other direction with this. Oh, I guess we should get to our friends at MyBookie real quick too, right? Before we start. I guess we should wrap this up, get to MyBookie, and then get to some reader emails there. And what was the point I was going to make real quick? Well, they're 7th overall I think they're 7th in the wild card standings or in the conference standings right now. So hey, one spot out of it. That's not bad. Plus, you got the head-to-head to win over the team that's 6, which is the Colts right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and one of those wildcard teams is Buffalo, right?
Right. So they'll be able to play them later on in the season as well. Oh, the Vinatieri miss. Did you see the full live reaction of what's his name?
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee to that miss.
I did. I love Pat McAfee. He called laces. I mean, live like that. That just kind of shows you the mind of an NFL player. Yeah, so laces were out. It was a Finkel as Einhorn kind of situation. So yeah, but I mean, I know Vinatieri struggled, but I did not expect him to miss that kick. And then laces were obviously a factor, but even still, I mean, that's the clutchest kicker in NFL history, whiffing.
Right, and he has struggled this year, so you kind of know going into it that this is a kick. Is he done? Is Vinatieri done? I mean, if you're the Colts, you probably got to think about moving on from him now, right?
Or I know that discussion happened early in the year after the first 2 weeks when Vinatieri really, really struggled, and a lot of it was on him, and they kept him. So I imagine they're going to stick with him, and because of the whole laces situation, that's probably less on him than some of the other misses this year. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to imagine he's going to stay.
Yeah, he's another key miss or two away from being out of the NFL for good. You know, he's been around it long enough, that's for sure. Okay, what else do we have? I think we covered that top to bottom until we have the all 22 to work with here.
Right. I just want to mention the AFC North. I know you had to recap briefly. Browns continue to be the Browns. Ravens continue to be Ravens. That's good news for Baltimore fans. Bad news for Browns fans.
Boy, they took it. Got to hand it to Lamar Jackson, man. But they didn't force Lamar Jackson to put that ball in the air enough. Talking about the Patriots. So
right.
What do you have? 160 something? Is that? I wonder if that for a full game in let's say in the last, I don't know, 7, 8, since Tom Brady has become the GOAT, whatever year that actually happened. With that, my question. Oh, hold on here. I'm trying to block something from happening here on the computer. But I guess long and short of it is, from the time that Tom Brady actually became the GOAT, what was the fewest passing yards thrown against the Patriots to beat them? You know what I'm saying?
I'm looking that up right now because I knew where you were going with that. I'm going to go since 2010 in a victory. It might take me a minute here, but
people probably don't want this to turn into the Tom Brady praising like we like to do in Patriots Depot. But that's the first thing that jumped out to me when I looked over the stats at the end of that game last night. Was, man, are you kidding me? Lamar Jackson only threw for 100-something yards, and you know what? Like the Patriots were turning the ball over right and left in that game. Either,
It looks like 2015, the Eagles beat the Patriots 35-28. Eagles had 120 yards passing with Sam Bradford throwing 2 touchdowns, but the Eagles got an 83-yard Darren Sproles punt return and a Malcolm Jenkins 99-yard interception return, and I think another block punt return. So they had like 3 non-offensive touchdowns in that game. So 2015, last time that's happened.
And Baltimore last night had the one non-offensive touchdown, right, with the Marlon Humphreys fumble return for a touchdown there. But
the huge point of the game.
Yeah, that really was. Look, they bleed their own blood.
Yep.
And that props to that defense playing better than what I thought they would. They were able to get pressure on Brady when it mattered the most, and Lamar Jackson can kill you with his legs. So, nice to see their adjusted net yard. Well, I don't know how big a hit maybe their adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat took, because if you talk about 160 yards, you only threw 1 touchdown. How many times did they sack Jackson? Once or twice, but anyway, people don't care about that.
Then over in Cleveland, I mean, that's just a dumpster fire. It's just that they cut that Jermaine Whitehead guy that was literally sending death threats on Twitter and Instagram. So fun times in Cleveland.
That's a mess right now. I mean,
you were right. I'll give you credit. I mean, I think the Browns were going to be Super Bowl champ, but I didn't think they were going to be this just horrendous.
I'm not shocked. I'll put it to you that way
Mm-hmm.
with what's transpired there. Now, look, Steelers still got to play them twice, you know.
Right.
And Baker wasn't awful, I didn't think, in that game yesterday. I don't know how much of it you saw, but I didn't think he was awful in it there. But, yeah, they're not right in their defense to let that Brandon Allen have, and he didn't have to throw all that much either, you know.
Right.
Kind of just one of those opportunistic games that went against the Browns there. They're in a mess. Now they have to win. They have to go 6-2 the rest of the way just to have a better record than they had last year.
I don't like their odds. I saw the stat. Freddie Kitchens is 2-6 this year. When Hugh Jackson was fired last year, the Browns were 2-5-1. So just put that in perspective. That Hugh Jackson technically last year had a better record than Freddie Kitchens, who may be a one and done coach. We'll see. I don't know how John Dorsey's going to approach it, but I know the fans want him fired, and we'll see what happens.
They want him fired. You're just not going to make headway. I do think he's over his head, though. I'll tell you that. I think that's what you kind of get for kind of taking a running back coach and all of a sudden making him a head coach, which is basically what happened, right?
I mean, that is what happened, yeah, without a lot of structure around him. Tony Dungy said it well. Dungy was saying that, I was an assistant coach for a long time and was kind of showing the way, and no one's really shown Freddie Kitchens the way because it's all happened so quickly.
What do you think about the job? Look, we're running along here as we usually do anyway, but what about the job that Mike Tomlin has done to date? I mean, yeah, in the game, probably one of the worst challenges, like you said, top 5 challenges of all time, blah, blah, blah. But this team is 4-4 at the break with a very manageable second half schedule, at least on paper. And the start that they had and the injuries that they had and are having, 4-4. I mean, and I think I said it a couple of podcasts ago, several podcasts ago, if he gets this team into the playoffs and they win a game, how can you not give him Coach of the Year?
Mm-hmm. Even if they get into the playoffs, just period, I think I think it will be the best coaching job he's ever done in a single season, ever.
You like to see him at least win one so you can have something to kind of hang it on. Because look, I think if you look around the rest of the AFC right now, 5 more. If he goes 5-3, 9 wins might get you in, Alex. 9 wins might get you in this thing.
Yeah, if you have tiebreakers, which they could. Yeah, not going to win the North, but yeah, it'll get you in the wild card.
You're right. They're probably not going to win the North with that, but heck, you've already beaten the Chargers, who are kind of still on your heels. You beat the Colts, who are just slightly ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good AFC record right now, right? Overall, you've lost to Baltimore and New England.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're probably not going to get in a tiebreaker situation where those 2 losses are going to hurt you. If anything, they'll help you because of strength of schedule, right, or strength of however all that works.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you beat these. Is it all AF? You have obviously an NFC team coming up with the Rams.
You got the Cardinals later in the year.
Cardinals later in the year, and that's it, right? As far as NFC teams go, because you got the Jets, you got Buffalo, you got Cleveland twice, you got Cincinnati once, you got Baltimore. They could. You hate to talk about it, but they could actually afford to lose to the Rams. If you're going to pick a game to lose of the next, say, 5 or 6, it's next Sunday against the Rams.
Yeah, you're out of the must-win stage, which is a nice place to be because it's been like that for too long now. Just to your original question, the job that Tomlin's done, yeah, that in-game challenge was horrendous, and he should be criticized for it, no doubt about it. But the job he's done overall, and that's why I said he's never lost that locker room. Guys keep playing hard for him, and in those tough moments when it's very easy for teams to fold, you're seeing what's happening in Cleveland right now. That team's folding as things get tough and tight. You see the Steelers come together and stack wins, and to go 1-4 again. You're 1-4 West Coast with Duck Hodges at quarterback. That would have ended almost any team season, and the Steelers have gotten better since then. So hats off the job Tomlin's done, no doubt about it.
And obviously half a season to go. Let's not hand him the trophy just yet.
Sure. Absolutely.
But a lot better. Like he said, good place to be right now considering the start that they had. Alex, as a true football fan, you already know just as sure as seasons change that Tom Brady will keep the Patriots in the game. as long as he doesn't have to play the Ravens, I guess. Every weekend, our favorite gridiron warriors put their skills to the test, so why aren't you doing the same? We're almost halfway through we are. We're halfway through the NFL season now, so now is the time to get off the sideline and get in the game with MyBookie. MyBookie is a premier place to bet on all your favorite pro and college football action every weekend. They always have the most up-to-date lines and the most prop bets of any sports book on the planet. So, if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and bet with the best at MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy or gal who likes to bet a little and win a lot, try one of their parlays. You pick your locks for the week, put them together in one parlay bet, and when they all come in, the rewards will be huge. Tired of watching games from the couch with nothing to gain? MyBookie wants to get your mind off everything else and back on the game. Best part is, Alex, and listeners, if you join right now, MyBookie will double. That's right, they will double your first deposit. That's right. If you put in $1,000, they'll give you $1,000. That's double your initial deposit you can use on all your favorite picks. To get that offer, you got to go to mybookie.ag, use promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible to activate the offer. That's promo code TERRIBLE to double your cash today. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
I think you've taken the lead in our weekly predictions. I think you passed me up again this past week.
Yeah, look, I obviously don't bet all those games every week, but if you can pull over, 53% or whatnot on picking every game every week, that's not too terribly bad. But you're hanging right there with me as well too. So props to you. Shall we get to the email machine?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Minkah holdout extension. Dave, is Minkah Fitzpatrick a prime candidate for a holdout this offseason? In your 2020 salary cap breakdown last week, you listed a number of players who are extension candidates, but Minkah wasn't one of them. While he still has 2 years left on his deal, he is an amazing position of leverage. He has only $4.6 million at risk on his contract. He no longer plays for the team that paid his $10 million signing bonus, and his current team traded a first-round pick to acquire him. Oh, and he's playing very well. If I'm his agent, I'm demanding a new deal from the Steelers this offseason. Is this something we could consider for the 2020 salary cap projection? This is Minkah's second year, right, Alex?
Yes.
So he cannot. He has to wait until after the third year before he can get any contract by the CBA, Jeff. Look at any drafted player anyway cannot have his contract redone until after year number 3.
Right. And if they were hypothetically something that changed in this 2020 CBA that would change those rules, would it be grandfathered in or would it change immediately?
Yeah, I can't see where no, I think it'd be moving forward because teams have had to plan
right
for this thing. So Jeff, there's absolutely nothing to worry about with Minkah. Minkah can hold out all he wants. The Steelers can't do anything about it per the CBA. It's kind of a protection clause in there. That's why even if the Steelers wanted to give James Conner or Juju a new deal this past offseason, they couldn't.
Could Minkah get that performance escalator, or is that not typically?
No, that's after that's third round picks or later.
All right, good call.
So, yeah, I mean, he's just going to, that's part of being a young player, and the Steelers are benefiting from him playing well. They get extreme value with him. So nothing to worry about there, Jeff. The problem, I guess you could say, would be what happens if he has another great 2020 season, would be the question there. So nothing to worry about there, Jeff.
Which I will take him having a good 2020 season. I'm all for that.
Advanced stat question from Chris from New Jersey. Listeners since 2016. You guys kill it. Keep up the good work. I'm not sure if you guys mentioned it or heard it somewhere else, but doesn't the advanced stats say that you shouldn't run on second and long 10 plus? Yeah, it does. Not to pick. Thought there were some good calls today and bad ones out of Randy, but I guess we did it 4 to 6 times versus the Colts. Need you guys to look into that. Just feel the best case scenario. You were in 3rd and 7 type situation with a young quarterback, putting yourself in a bad spot. P.S. Why are we pulling DeCastro on the goal line during the first half? LOL. Yeah, we already addressed that DeCastro situation there. Look, it's obviously not sound from a stat standpoint over time. The stats will tell you, the nerds will tell you that you just don't run on second and long. And yeah, I hate to see it. Is it going to stop? No. But it is. I mean, if you throw and you're incomplete, you're in 3rd and 10. If you run, you pick up 3, you're in 3rd and 7. Is there much difference between that? But yeah, I get it. I get what the numbers say. I would like to see them do it less, but I understand why they're doing it with a young quarterback as well too.
I wonder where they rank, though, because it's easy to look at just Pittsburgh and not see how the league-wide rank is. I'm not saying if they're high or low in second and long runs. I imagine they're probably closer towards the high end of it, which is bad, but I just would love to know the stat.
Let's see. Julio Sagado writes in, "Hi, guys. Happy Victory Monday, a.k.a. Alex was wrong day." First of all, every week that look, I mean, it wasn't so out of norm for Alex to pick against the Steelers in that game. It had a lot of reasons to do it, and he was a missed Vinatieri field goal away from being right. First of all, every week that Minkah trade looks better and better. Can't wait to see what the talking heads will say now. It seems that Minkah is this defense's biggest game changer, but is this the case? I know it's a unit effort, but I don't recall these big plays happening the last few years. Now to a more complicated question, and if you aren't willing to answer it, obviously we can't go back in time, but it seems for the team that drafted Donna because of Ben was threatening. Dobbs, I guess. This auto-corrected from drafted Dobbs because Ben was always threatening retirement. Then they could have had potentially drafted Kittle instead. And now because Ben didn't want to give them a discount, some of the guys that are shining on defense like Bud aren't likely to be kept. So is it fair to say that Ben's selfishness hurt this team more than it's helped it? And what would it have been a realistic number for Ben to have taken to keep him happy to be able to pay other guys? Man, that's
a pretty loaded question.
Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question there, man. Could Ben have handled the whole I'm thinking about retirement thing better just because he was pissed off at didn't like dealing with Haley? Yeah. Alex?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't know. I mean, in his small defense, I don't know if maybe he should have known that it would blow up the way that it did. I don't know if he intended that to happen. I'm not really here to rehash though Ben stuff and anything like that.
I mean, was he seriously considering at any point, Alex? Were you worried about Ben retiring?
Not particularly. I mean, who knows? I couldn't put myself in Ben's shoes, and I think at that point, all that stuff was going on. I was at the Senior Bowl, so I wasn't even thinking about that. I was doing Senior Bowl stuff, but no, I never really thought it was I'm sure it crossed his mind. I'm sure it was something he discussed, but I didn't think he was serious about it.
Yeah, and look, you don't know you don't know that you're gonna turn around and get another quarterback the other year anyway. I kind of understand. I don't like it because of who they missed out on. Could Dobbs have even been taken around later? That's another thing. I mean, there's so many hypotheticals in here. And about Ben and the money, once again, he got what was fair, if you ask me. Not everybody. Look, there's Tom Brady and then there's everybody else, basically, when it comes to this. When it comes to all contracts.
Yeah, in terms of the Brady seems to take team-friendly deals, and everyone else kind of gets their money.
Right, but he still gets his money too.
I think they do something on the side with something going on there.
Well, regardless, no, I don't think selfishness has hurt this team. Blah blah blah. I'm not buying any of that.
Yep.
As far as Minkah goes, look, I think you're going to find out that a couple of these touchdowns in this game against the Colts might be on Minkah.
Yeah, and he admitted to that one a couple weeks ago too, right?
Right, the one, the Artie Burns one.
The Chargers game. Yeah, I know. I saw that he admitted to it. So I mean, he's been a little feast famine, but obviously the good definitely outweighs the bad.
Right. You make the plays. You make those plays, and you return something 96 yards. It's easy to turn your head and think that you can properly put blame on Mike Hilton, maybe when it's not fully on Mike Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
playmakers tend to be able to rise above a little bit of the criticism there. Look, make no mistake about it. Glad this guy's in the black and gold. So Will Fernandez writes in, hello, Dave and Alex. The second half offensive play calling was abysmal, playing not to lose. It was like the old saying on defense of playing prevent defense. It prevents you from winning. It was the most annoyed I've been after a victory. Yes, I'll take the win every time. The offense made strides against Miami, but it feels like the play calling regressed yesterday. Is it a lack of trust towards Mason Rudolph? The dink and dunk philosophy cannot be sustained for an entire game. Look, they've sustained that dink and dunk stuff, going back to even last year with Ben. But the difference is, and once again, I think once we get out of this season and can sit back and spend the time to properly statistically analyze this and all, I think what you're really missing here are those 2 or 3 plays a game that Ben extends the pocket and hits Antonio Brown for 60 yards.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but we'll have to look at the all-22 and just know the Colts were really forcing the Steelers' hand. I believe that Rudolph surely missed a couple throws and a couple opportunities, but I think the Colts' game plan had something to do with it too.
Now, Will, I will tell you, I think I made that clear earlier in today's show, that that 4-minute situation there, you got to do a better job there. Alex and I talked about that 4th and whatever play that we got to really probably look closer at on the all-22. Wasn't a huge fan of that. How much were the checkdowns were related to coverage? We'll have to see about that. It wasn't a great game for Randy, no, right?
Yeah. I'm excited to learn more about the specific issues, but no, it wasn't a great game for Rudolph. It was not a great game for Fiedner.
All right.
Not a great game for the offense. They were not
right.
what they need.
Let's see. Bryce writes in, hey, guys, it's Bryce. We'll take the win any way we can get it. Gritty performance against a good opponent. A few thoughts, questions. One word describes the Steelers' wide receiver in a passing game: inconsistent. There are times when they're making great plays and catching deep shots, and there are times where it looks like they just can't get open. What concepts do you think the Steelers need to run more of to help scheme these guys? Look, they're getting open, consistent enough. Well, let's see what look, they were open against Miami, right, Alex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think guys have gotten open. I think Rudolph has missed on some throws. I mean, some of the stuff to Washington has been poor, and overthrew Deontay Johnson against the Dolphins. So I think at this point you have a decent enough scheme where guys are getting open. Now it's about just executing. I mean, there's always things to work on schematically and frustrations and things you want to improve, but now it's really just about being more detail-oriented and being more precise with the execution of the offense.
I think just, he tries to label it one word describes the Steelers' wide receivers in the passing game. He says inconsistent. I think just inconsistent's the word that you need to use for the entire offense right now.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Number 2, seemed to me that Mark Barron's name got called a lot on the inside blitzes. How effective do you think he was as a blitzer, and could this actually be the part of his game? I tell you, I'd much rather have, look, he split a sack with Watt yesterday, right? And we are seeing him kind of go. You have to mix it up with who you send.
Sure, yeah, and really it's more about schematic thing. We get any of those linebackers on a running back, you expect your guy to be able to win, and so that's the idea. All linebackers have to do it, like you said, Dave. So it's not just one guy because they're rotating so much. You can't just have it obvious. If it's just one guy, then you're never worried about the other guy coming or not coming based on the personnel grouping. So it's really just a thing that all Steelers inside linebackers have to do. John Bossa talked about that last year, how he never really had to blitz before because he played in the old cover 2 Tampa 2 system where you never rushed the quarterback as the Mike linebacker. So it's really more of a schematic thing than it is a execution thing. Though Vince Williams, again, for my money, is the best off-ball blitzing linebacker in football, and had a pressure yesterday too, right? I think he got some heat.
Number 3, I appreciate a coach being aggressive, but I thought Frank Reich going for it on that 4th and 4 was a very poor decision and gave the Steelers a lot of momentum to turn the game in their favor. I think we're thinking about it right. I didn't mind Frank Reich. I love aggressive coaches.
Yeah, no, it was a good call. And Dupree had that huge forced fumble, which was just a massive play. The other play I want to mention really quickly with Dupree is that 3rd and 1 stop before Vinatieri's field goal attempt. I know that I think Hayward was in there, and they probably might have stopped it regardless, but Dupree making that tackle was maybe a bigger play than any of the sacks that he had, and his run defense has just been borderline elite for this entire season.
Joe Tadeo, sounds like patio, he says. Please remind your listeners that the Steelers won today. Call it ugly, call it ugly, lucky, or whatever you want, but they won. I can't believe how many people are complaining about Rudolph's play. Was he great? No, but for the most part, he did his job. He just started his 5th game. We all want him to play great, but it doesn't happen right away. Shouldn't we cut him some slack, or am I being too easy on him? On another note, those still calling for Tomlin's firing are nuts. Look at the crap coaches in our division and then look around at the rest of the league. Name 3 coaches you would rather have. Look, you're preaching to the choir right there when it comes to Tomlin. We're not even going to address that there. As far as the Rudolph thing and all goes, I don't know how many times I've said it, but we got to let this thing play out with him. We got to quit trying to go so pass-fail for his career on every game. This is a process with him. Was his play, and once again, we'll have to look at the coverage. Maybe Alex and I will have a different tune when we get into the Wednesday show or whatnot, recapping the All-22. It just kind of felt like what he had to do was kind of necessitated with the checkdowns. Here's the other thing. I'll take less interceptable balls every day of the week, as long as the offense, even though it felt clunky at times, the offense moved the football down the field, whether it be penalty, whether it be short pass after the catch, whether it be a 45-yard run. They moved the football. The biggest concern, I think, that kind of has a frown on my face when it comes to Rudolph is the play in the red zone and the play in the pocket, especially deep in his own end. I think Alex and I hit on that overall there. Yes, the Steelers won. That's all that matters here. Style points don't matter. But the thing back to Rudolph here is, folks, don't try to pass and fail this every damn game. Let's see the progress and the step backs that he makes, and note those on a weekly basis. And then let's put this thing all together at the end of the season and draw a few more conclusions. Alex?
I'm with you, Dave. You don't want to talk in absolutes unless you're talking about the highest of highs of play, like a Patrick Mahomes last year, or the lowest of lows, like a Mitchell Trubisky this year. I think to try to do this, like you said, Dave, pass fail on a quarterback is just a roller coaster ride that you don't need to be on or don't want to be on. So we'll long ways to go for Rudolph, a lot of improvements to make, but let's see how the season ends and evaluate him a little bit more from at that point.
And yeah, baby, he is the number 30 or 31 starting quarterback in the NFL right now, right? I mean, but the Steelers are winning. Let's let this thing play out. Let's see if he's able to progress in a couple more areas moving forward. This one from Tony Swanson, Mason Rudolph. Hey, Dave and Alex, I absolutely love the show, and I also have the ad-free version of the site, and it's fantastic. Thanks, Tony. Quick observation. It appears to me that Mason is not throwing on rhythm and anticipating receivers coming open. It seems to the TV audience that he is being more reactionary and waiting until he actually sees them open and throwing late. Is this paralysis by analysis? Is it something he'll get over? Does he just need to calm down and have the faith to throw to allow the receivers to make plays? Keep up the good work you guys do, and don't panic if the podcast reaches 3 hours. I, for one, appreciate every moment. Thanks to the whole crew. Tony from Dallas. Look, once again, we've kind of, it did seem like he held on to the ball a little too long. Maybe in a couple instances yesterday. He does appear to me at times of trying to be too perfect.
Yeah, I used the exact phrase that the reader used, paralysis by analysis. And I think that was fair to say. And he's probably trying to be too perfect, as you said, as well. So all things that he's trying to work through.
We'll keep analyzing it, Tony. We'll keep analyzing it here. Bud the Dud ? William L. Wood. Happy Monday, Yins. Dave, I read your early breakdown of 2020 salary cap situation, and I'm in agreement with both of you and young Alex that the Steelers will most likely let the man formerly known as Bud the Dud walk at the end of the season and pin their hopes on a high 2021 comp pick. Having said that, can you envision a realistic scenario where a surprise cut or two, nothing silly like cutting Big Ben, could be made along with restructures to keep Bud in black and gold long term? I know it's a major stretch, but it would be fun to hear the two of you speculate on that matter. Love the podcast. Been listening for nearly a decade. Thanks for keeping the Yinzer Masters educated, Professor Bilster. Bilster, hope you enjoyed the conversation Alex and I had earlier. It can be done. All right, in a salary cap world where you can massage the cap, it can be done. Would it take a few maybe cuts? You'd probably have to cut a Lulu. You'd probably have to cut maybe you have to cut Vince Williams. Uh, maybe Rosie Nix. Uh, I could go down the list here. I could free up the money for you, but you're probably not going to like it. And you're probably
Hmm.
not going to like having to restructure short end contracts like DeCastro. Uh, who else? I mean, look, you got to give some of these guys. I mean, Tuitt's going to probably have to get done anyway. All
Hmm.
right. Here's the thing. Are you not wanting to give Cam Hayward a contract?
What isn't this? Didn't you say his cap hit would go down
Yeah, it
on a
should
new
go.
deal?
It should go down to uh, you know, maybe 3 million.
Right. So doing a deal doesn't hurt your
Right.
cap,
What
right?
about
Okay.
Alejandro Villanueva?
Yeah, that's the one where it's not you're not going to save money. You're either going to stay the same or you're going to go up a little bit.
What
And yeah,
about
you want to get him
what
now.
about Juju?
Yeah, no, again, you laid it out well, and I want to be very clear that while I want to have a conversation about trying to find ways to keep Dupree, it won't be easy. It'll be difficult and it won't be cheap, absolutely, and it's going to have a big cap constraint. It's going to make difficult decisions elsewhere. So it's a fine line to walk, but I think you have to be open to the idea of seeing how you can make it work and lay all the money out there and make a decision then because the guy's playing out of his mind right now.
Here is exactly how I titled my article. Steelers still unlikely to retain Dupree in 2020 despite the impressive 2019 season. Unlikely is not definitive word, is it?
No, yeah, I know. Like you said, you don't want to talk in absolutes. We don't want to talk. We try not to talk in absolutes about situations we don't control directly, and obviously, this is a situation we don't control directly.
Just my educated guess on this for doing this for years and how the Steelers function. It's going to have to start with to me, it's got to start with a franchise tag. All right, and then we go from there. If they don't place the franchise tag on him, I don't see how you retain him. Plain and simple. Cole Sachs right said, "Dear David Alex, is there Fietner? Isn't our if is there? I don't know how he's got this word. I guess is there a chance that Fietner isn't our offensive coordinator next season? Or will he get a pass for Ben missing the season? Does he deserve a pass? Will Butler be our defensive coordinator next season? Defense is good, but with all the talent on that side, it should be good. Is there a rule that says a punt returner has to be a wide receiver? Thanks, fellas. Have a good day." Look, we're here. We're talking about Dupree's contract next off season. We're talking about coordinators being back, and we're sitting here with a 4-4 football team at the
Hmm.
midway point of the season.
Yeah, to answer him quickly, yeah, Fietner will be back because you're not going to change OCs when Ben's final probably 2 years in football. Butler more questionable, but if his defense keeps playing well, probably going to come back under a new contract. It's probably going to be the decision the team makes. And what was the third question? Was there a third question?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Uh,
I'm off of it.
okay.
Joseph writes in highway robbery. If the Steelers finish anywhere near 500, Colbert should be let off in handcuffs this year for getting Minka. What?
What?
If Steelers finish anywhere near 500, Colbert should be let off in handcuffs this year
Oh,
for getting Minka. Let's not even talk about a 3-5 pick for player not even in the league right now. Oh yeah, and the third round comp pick for another player that is a jag this year, just another guy. I'm not. Is he not liking?
no, I think he's saying for robbery, for Colbert robbing the Dolphins for getting
Oh,
Minka and
okay,
giving them only a 17th
okay.
overall pick. I'm not sure what the last part meant about 3-5 and Jags and all that, but yeah, I mean Colbert, it's one of his best trades ever.
Okay. Oh yeah, and the third round pick for another player that is a jag this year, just another guy. Peace and love, LOL. It's a really good day today. Don't mean to rush. I'm on the way out the door, going to buy Vinatieri an early Christmas card. Joe, please don't. Okay. I think we got that. Let's see here. Pod question for Fietner. How much was Fietner to blame for the offensive output on Sunday? It seemed like he still doesn't trust to let him loose. Matt, we're trying to get to that on the tape. Sean Germanowski, Tom and Fietner are just pathetic. He must have wrote this in the middle of the game. Tomlin and Fichtner are just pathetic. I hope the Roonies enjoy this show. The Colts tried to hand this game over several times, and Tomlin refused to win it on his own. We suck, and that's that. Lucky for us, they have a kicker who had a bad day that was worse than Rudolph's, which is hard to imagine. And since we had his bell rung, is playing worse than Mayfield. Or Rudolph's, which is hard to imagine, since he had his bell rung, he's playing worse than Mayfield. Don't think for a moment we can progress with this setup, Dave. We don't have coaching, we don't have quarterback, and we don't have a chance. What do you think about Sean's hot take there? Ooh, I burnt my hand on that one.
Yeah, Sean, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think anything I say is going to change your mind at this point, but thanks for emailing us.
Joseph writes in again, why can't we Steelers cover a tight end, period? I don't understand. I feel it's neglected in the game plan by the coaching staff. My concern is mainly over the middle. I feel they are not putting the athletes in the right position. Once again, if Mika doesn't intercept that and return that for a touchdown, are we talking about him having a pretty bad game yesterday?
Maybe. I don't know. But he made the play. That's all that matters. I understand on the tight ends. I mean, young guys, Devin Bush learning how to cover. That's going to be a work in progress. He drafted Devin Bush to cover tight ends, though. That's his job. Only way he's going to improve, become better, is by making some mistakes in the process. I'm shocked the Colts only played Eric Ebron 24 snaps yesterday. I thought he would have been a big part of the game plan, especially without T.Y. Hilton. I mean, Brissett goes down. I think it was probably a bad choice by Indy to barely play Eric Ebron. I think only had 2 catches for 16 yards. I think that was a mistake on the Colts' part.
Todd Johnson, Shazier. Just curious what you think will happen with Shazier next year. Look, I'm still going to try to stay as optimistic about this as possible, but, I think signs are pointing to where most people think the signs are pointing. Right, Alex?
Yeah, I've tried to be really optimistic too, but I guess the question is, I mean, yeah, because his contract's going to be up after every single year, right? And it tolls.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm going to have to ask Joel Corey how many times a contract can toll like that. You know, I think we're kind of in uncharted territory. You know, when it comes to something like this. I mean, I guess it could toll again at the same amount, so I don't know. It's hard. Remain optimistic, but it's hard. It's hard right now at this point, and seeing the way he moves right now, to think that he's going to play football next year. I'm not going to say ever again. I'm just going to say next year.
Yeah, I know he's always said he's had a target year in mind for when he wanted to come back and basically make his decision of if he could come back or if he was going to retire. So I'm not sure what year that is, and obviously plans can change. So I don't know. I don't know what Jay-Z's future is going to be. I wish I could answer that.
Russ Obenstein thanks me for the salary cap article. Could never grasp the cap and understand it. Follow your coverage. You do a great job explaining in terms that a fan can easily grasp. Evidently, I confused Alex about Bud Dupree.
Well, I don't, whatever.
And understand better than anybody else I have ever read. Anybody who cannot follow how you lay it out. Look, I'm an idiot, Russ, so I've got to make sure I lay it out, the salary cap, easy enough for myself to understand it. I got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and time in trying to learn all this. So I hope I do lay it. Alex, do I lay it out easy enough? I hope so.
Yeah, I thought you did a good job.
Let's see. You by far did the best job of anybody explaining it in English and in your projections, how it could play out. Never got until I followed you. Please don't change a thing. Cap was always one of my weaknesses about the game. Couldn't grasp it until I followed yours. Thanks, Russ. Thanks for those kind words, Russ. Look, and my projection is a projection at the midway point of a season on top of that. Okay, so I'm going to get things. Things aren't going to be exact on that. Those are all kind of what I like to call them educated guesses. And the whole Bud Dupree thing is going to be a huge talking point. The further we get along in this, and the better that the more sacks that Bud Dupree piles up, we're going to continue to have these conversations about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. It's a whole lot better than saying, "Man, Dupree sucks again," and now how you can replace him. So it's the better of the two options.
And I think I even said before the season started that would be a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a good problem to have right now. So we got along long time to go before we have to worry about what kind of, what's going to happen with Bud Dupree there. All right, with that, we've gone long enough here. Make sure you check out my buddy at goodieslv.com and get some of that good popcorn there. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. That'll take you to PayPal so you can make a secure donation that way. Also, if you want an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the ad-free button. And for $25 for a calendar year, you can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. And obviously, you see a lot of people have taken advantage of that option as well, too. Alex, you and I will be back at it on Wednesday. Maybe we'll have a beat writer on. We'll talk more about what we see on the All-22 tape. And until then, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.